Chapter 381. Xiao Xiaoling was really surprised. He didn't expect to meet Tang Zheng. His impression of Tang Zheng was too deep. The fight just now made him even more cautious. After a few months of not seeing each other, Tang Zheng's strength had obviously gone up a level. "Who sent you this time?" Tang Zheng asked. Xiao Xiaoling retorted, "I'm a killer. I won't divulge any information about the guests." "Is that so? Then I'll catch you first and see if you say anything." Tang Zheng's figure flashed and attacked again. With the light, his speed was even faster. In the blink of an eye, his two fingers pierced Xiao Xiaoling's chest. Shua! The sword light flashed, the soft sword trembled, and a sword flower bloomed on Xiao Xiaoling's chest, blocking Tang Zheng's move. However, Tang Zheng's move was not old. He only saw his fingers change and cut towards the void. The air vibrated. Before it was clear how Tang Zheng attacked, his hand crossed the blooming sword flower and stabbed Xiao Xiaoling's chest. Xiao Xiaoling's face changed greatly, and he exclaimed, "How did you do it?" Tang Zheng broke through his defense with only one hand and attacked an inch in front of him. How could he not be shocked? Tang Zheng gave a cold smile but did not reply. This was the third move of the heaven-flying immortal, lightning fire sword. The essence of this move was speed, catching the enemy off guard, and it was as fast as lightning. Although he did not use the war spirit sword and only used his hands, he also played 60 to 70% of the essence and defeated the enemy in one move. Xiao Xiaoling quickly retreated, trying to avoid this move, but no matter how he retreated, Tang Zheng's hand was always an inch away from his chest. Shua! The soft sword trembled, and the cold sword tip was like a viper biting at Tang Zheng. However, Tang Zheng's speed was faster. He changed his sword move and put his finger on Xiao Xiaoling's throat. This time, if Xiao Xiao moved, his throat would be pierced. A trace of horror flashed through Xiao Zhao's cold eyes. He didn't expect that Tang Zheng could change his moves so quickly, and the attack was so horrible. Before he could react, the other side had completely taken the initiative. "Don't move. If you move, I will pierce your throat," Tang Zheng said coldly. Xiao Xiao was like a stone statue, motionless, and it was difficult to hide the loneliness of failure on his face. Tang Zheng grabbed the soft sword in his hand and held it across his throat. He said, "Now can you tell me who is the real murderer behind the scenes?" Xiao Xiao snorted coldly with dissatisfaction and asked, "Tang Zheng, how did you do this? It's only been a few months. How did you become so powerful?" If Xiao Xiao was still in the same place and Tang Zheng won, Xiao Xiao could still figure it out. But the key was that he had improved 2 levels of cultivation, but still lost to Tang Zheng, which made him puzzled. His master had once said that he had great talent in swordsmanship, and his cultivation had proved this point. His cultivation speed was much faster than his 2 senior brothers, which was why he had reached the Xiantian realm at such a young age. But at this moment, he found that compared with Tang Zheng, he was actually inferior. "You are not qualified to ask questions. Answer my questions quickly, or I don't mind killing you," Tang Zheng said. Xiao Xiao said disdainfully, "Will I, a cold-faced killer, sell the information of my guests? Then my signboard will be smashed. You are dreaming." "Well, in that case, go to hell." Seeing that Tang Zheng's killing intent soared, Xiao Xiao was not afraid. Instead, he stubbornly raised his head, which made Tang Zheng very surprised. This cold-faced killer's bones were hard enough. "Even if you don't say it, I know who sent you. Besides Long Tingyu, who else would be so crazy?" Mu Hongyan, who had been silent, suddenly said. Xiao Zhao's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise, and subconsciously asked, "How do you know?" Hearing this, Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan no longer doubted that the real murderer this time was really Long Tingyu. Tang Zheng couldn't help but remember that when Xiao Xiao assassinated Wang Fuchuan, wasn't it also Long Tingyu's work? He was really addicted to using assassination methods. Last time, it was against his own subordinates, but this time, it was against his sister-in-law and niece. It was really crazy. Mu Hongyan bit her lips. Her originally rosy lips became bloodless. She resisted great anger and asked, "Why does Long Tingyu want to kill our mother and daughter?" Since he had seen through the north, Xiao Xiao no longer concealed it and said, "I only care about killing people. I don't know the reason, and I don't want to know the reason." Well, since you are in this line of work, you should have awareness. This time you failed, and if you failed, go to hell. Tang Zheng said. Xiao Xiao was not afraid at all and said, my skills are not as good as others. I can only blame myself for not learning well. 18 years later, I will be a good man again. Bah, you even killed people's orphans and widows. What kind of man are you? Tang Zheng said disdainfully. Xiao Zhao's face turned red, and he was speechless. Brother Miracle Doctor, what are you doing? Suddenly, Nana walked to the door, rubbing her eyes while looking at this scene curiously. Mu Hongyin quickly picked up Nana and said, Nana, why are you awake? I woke up when I heard you talking. Brother Miracle Doctor, why are you pointing your sword at him? Did he do something bad? Nana asked curiously. Tang Jing didn't want her to see this scene and quickly said, Nana, go back to sleep quickly. Sister Mu, you carry Nana in. No matter what you hear, don't come out. Mu Hongyin glanced at her daughter and said, Tang Zheng, Nana is here. Don't do anything. Mu Hongyin had already seen the killing intent in Tang Zheng's eyes. She knew what Tang Zheng was going to do. She was afraid that her daughter would be scared, so she advised. Tang Zheng glanced at Nana and found that she was staring at him with her big round eyes. If he killed someone here, it would not be good for Nana. Moreover, if he killed Xiao Xiao, Long Tingyu would definitely entrust other killers to assassinate Mu Hongyan. Therefore, it was necessary to eliminate the other party's conspiracy from the source. How could he eliminate the other party's conspiracy from the source? That must fall on Long Tingyu. At the beginning, Tang Zheng seriously injured Long Tingyu and scared him to run away with his tail between his legs. That was to say, he was very afraid of Tang Zheng. In that case, Long Tingyu should know that Mu Hongyin and her daughter were now protected by Tang Zheng. He wanted to weigh Tang Zheng first, and Xiao Xiao was the best person to pass on the message. You go in first. I know what to do, Tang Zheng advised. Mu Hongyin nodded, carried Nana into the bedroom, and closed the door. I was going to kill you. Since someone pleaded for you, I will let you go this time, Tang Zheng said. Xiao Zhao's cold face did not change. He thought that he would die, but he did not expect to escape. You go back and tell Long Tingyu that if he wants to kill this pair of mother and daughter, then I will definitely go to Dianan to take his head. Let him think about whether his life is important, or whether it is important to kill this pair of mother and daughter. Tang Zheng said with a murderous look, I will definitely bring your words. Xiao Xiao said coldly, hesitated for a moment, and then asked, you just used a sword technique. What kind of sword technique is it? So powerful. Good eyes. As for what sword technique, you don't need to know. Your sword technique is not bad. You must have been taught by a famous teacher, right? Tang Zheng asked with interest. Tang Zheng, my sword technique has lost to you. This is a disgrace to my master. You wait, I will challenge you openly in the future. I will definitely defeat you, Xiao Xiao said resolutely. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. He did not expect that the other party would say that. He asked in surprise, if I beat you, you will challenge me? How can there be such a reason in this world? If you beat me with other martial arts, I will definitely be convinced, but you beat me with sword technique. This is an insult to my master. I will never allow it. I am just not good at learning now. When my sword technique is great, I will come back to you. Xiao Xiao said coldly, an insult to your master? Who is your master? The more Tang Zheng listened, the more curious he became. The master of this cold-faced killer must be a master of the sword. Otherwise, Xiao Xiao would not take this matter so seriously. It is inconvenient for me to mention my master's name, but you have to remember that I will definitely defeat you in the future, and with a sword. Is that so? Then I will wait for you. Since the other party no longer tried to assassinate him and challenged him openly, Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. His own heaven-flying immortal swordsmanship was not slow. He was confident that he could defeat the other party, but he was very interested in the master behind Xiao Xiao. Seeing that the other party did not say anything, it was useless to force him, so he returned the soft sword to him and said, you go back. Remember to bring my original words. Xiao Xiao took the sword and shook it at his waist. The sword disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng knew that the soft sword was wrapped around his waist and was not surprised. I will definitely bring it. You wait for my challenge. Xiao Xiao said coldly and strode away. The room was quiet again. Tang Zheng sat on the sofa and pondered for a while. After this battle, Mu Hongyan and her daughter should be safe for the time being. Creak. The door opened and Mu Hongyan came out. Seeing that Xiao Xiao had left, she breathed a sigh of relief, but still frowned and said, Tang Zheng, thank you. If it weren't for you, our mother and daughter would not be alive anymore. Tang Zheng had saved their mother and daughter again and again, so that Mu Hongyan did not know what to say to thank him. Tang Zheng was like their protector. Since they met him, even if there were great difficulties, it seemed that he was there to support them. Tang Zheng smiled and said, Sister Mu, this is all heaven's will. If it weren't for Nana's insistence on keeping me, I wouldn't have happened to meet the killer, so there is no need to say thank you. Mu Hongyan's heart moved. It was indeed so. Could it be that they really had some kind of opportunity in the dark? Mu Hongyan walked over and sat beside Tang Zheng. She sighed and said, No one expected that Long Tengyu would be so crazy. Regardless of family ties, he sent people to kill us. What do you think we should do in the future? Chapter 382. Seeing her so worried, Tang Zheng pondered for a moment and said, Sister Mu, there is no doubt about your ability. You will definitely be able to find a better job. Mu Hongyan shook her head with a wry smile and said, When I left Dianan, Long Tengyu once said that I would not be able to find a job. Since he dared to send someone to kill me, then he must have already informed the enterprises in the capital. It would be easier said than done to find a suitable job. Tang Zheng frowned and said, He is so despicable. He is forcing me to submit. I will never compromise. Mu Hongyan said firmly. She was very clear about what Long Tengyu was planning, but with her strong nature, she would definitely not submit. Since these companies do not dare to offend the Long family, what will you do? Tang Zheng asked worriedly. Mu Hongyan shook her head and said, Let's take one step at a time and see what happens next. Tang Zheng looked at her beautiful face, but the worry between her brows could not be concealed. His heart was moved. This kind of woman could definitely arouse any man's desire to protect her. His eyes subconsciously glanced at his body. Damn, Tang Zheng almost cried out in surprise. She was not wearing underwear, only a thin layer of pajamas, faintly showing the alluring scenery inside. Tang Zheng's throat was a little dry. A man and a woman alone in the middle of the night. This kind of scenery was too alluring. She must have been frightened after waking up just now, so she forgot to wear her underwear. Mu Hongyan saw the strange look in Tang Zheng's eyes and lowered her head to look. She cried out in alarm and hurriedly covered her chest. Her face was red all the way to her neck as she angrily looked at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng smiled embarrassedly and quickly looked away. It's too late. You should rest early. Mu Hongyan stood up from the ground in panic, still clutching her chest, and rushed into the bedroom as if she was escaping. Tang Zheng rubbed his nose and also lay down on the sofa. Now that Mu Hongyan was in such a predicament, he had an idea. However, there was no time to mention it because of this incident. He would have to wait until tomorrow. Mu Hongyan's face was red as she laid on the bed. Her hand was still on her chest as she recalled Tang Zheng's gaze. Her heartbeat couldn't help but quicken a bit. She quickly shook her head and warned herself in her heart, Mu Hongyan, what are you thinking about? You must be more careful in the future and not expose yourself again. Early in the morning, both of them had regained their composure, as if they could not remember what had happened last night. As the three of them ate breakfast, Tang Zheng casually asked, Sister Mu, since you want to find a job, I have a suitable position to recommend. I wonder if you're interested? Mu Hongyan raised her head and asked curiously, What position? I want to do something, but I don't have any talents. Sister Mu, you are a talent and have experience. Why don't you help me? This was an idea that Tang Zheng came up with last night. He wanted to let Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix bleach the shore, but the two of them were indeed lacking in ability. However, Mu Hongyan made up for the shortcomings of the two of them. With Mu Hongyan at the helm, his career could truly start. You want to start a business? Mu Hongyan was greatly surprised. Yes, but my temple is too small. I don't know if it can accommodate a great Buddha like Sister Mu. Tang Zheng joked. Mu Hongyan laughed bitterly. How am I a great Buddha? I'm already at my wit's end. I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity under the pressure of the Long family. Oh, since that's the case, then it's a deal. Sister Mu, come and help me. Tang Zheng's face revealed joy. Mu Hongyan looked at Nana. Whether it was for her daughter or for herself, she had to repay Tang Zheng's kindness. She couldn't refuse this invitation. What do you want to start a business for? Mu Hongyan asked. Tang Zheng said, I haven't thought about it yet, but I have a few friends who will work with me. Coincidentally, they are still in the capital, so let's meet each other later. Mu Hongyan didn't have any objections. Tang Zheng contacted Lin Hu and the other two, and a moment later, they met at a coffee shop. When Lin Hu and the Fire Phoenix saw the mother and daughter pair, they couldn't help but be surprised, especially the Fire Phoenix who was a woman. She couldn't help but size up Mu Hongyan from head to toe, thinking to herself, this woman's noble aura is threatening, and she is so charming and beautiful. Just what kind of divine being is she? What kind of relationship did she have with young Master Tang? Furthermore, that little daughter of hers was like a little angel and was so close to Tang Zheng. Could it be that she was young Master Tang's illegitimate daughter? However, she immediately rejected this absurd thought. Young Master Tang was too young. How could he have such a big illegitimate daughter? The only one who was not surprised was Yi Yuan. Back then, when Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan fell off the cliff, the two of them had been together for a period of time, so they could not be considered strangers. Mu Hongyan looked at Yi Yuan in astonishment, obviously recognizing him as well. She thought to herself, could it be that Tang Zheng had brought the witch clan out of the 10,000 huge mountains? Both sides suppressed the suspicions in their hearts and looked at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng coughed and introduced them to each other, only saying that Mu Hongyan was the partner that he had invited for the company in the future. As for the identities of Lin Hu and the Fire Phoenix, Tang Zheng did not explain in detail, but Mu Hongyan, who had seen countless people, was able to see some clues. The smell of the martial arts world on the two of them was too strong. Huzi, Fire Phoenix, last time I asked you to go back and think about what you were interested in doing in the future. Have you thought about it? Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Lin Hu and the Fire Phoenix looked at Mu Hongyan at the same time. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not have any misgivings, it meant that he was not an outsider. Thus, the two of them did not stand on ceremony. Fire Phoenix muttered to herself for a moment, then said, Young Master Tang, I am still interested in construction. I hope that I can work in real estate in the future. Lin Hu said, I don't know many things. I'm only a little interested in entertainment clubs and the like. Their answers were within Tang Zheng's expectations. As the saying goes, do familiar things and don't do unfamiliar things. They were all inclined to do things that they were familiar with. I respect your opinions, but the businesses under our control are too scattered. So I found Sister Mu to be a partner to integrate our businesses and truly push these businesses onto the right track. Tang Zheng said. Speaking of serious matters, Mu Hongyan's attitude became serious, and she was not modest and said seriously, Tang Zheng, I need to understand what kind of businesses you have right now, so that I can formulate a specific plan for your future development. Tang Zheng himself did not know how many businesses he had, so he directly delegated his authority and said, You can discuss the specifics with the two of them. I will be the shopkeeper. If there is anything you need me to do, I will participate. Tang Zheng's strength was not in business operations. He had his own specialties. He would not go to an outsider to guide them. What he wanted to do was to escort them. Seeing that Tang Zheng respected Mu Hongyan so much, Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix felt deep veneration. Although they did not know what the relationship between the two was, but this Mu Hongyan was definitely not an ordinary person. The two big shots stopped underestimating each other and started to discuss with Mu Hongyan. Tang Zheng waved to Yi Yuan, and the two of them walked to the side. You've been out for so long. Do you miss home? Tang Zheng asked. A little, but I can also learn a lot of things outside. This is also the elder's intention. It's just that the only bad thing is that I can't stay by the invoice side and serve him. Yi Yuan said regretfully. Tang Zheng smiled slightly, knowing what Yi Yuan was thinking. Back then, he had allowed Yi Yuan to stay in the ordinary balance because he had just left the 10,000 huge mountains and had too much knowledge to learn, and Tang Zheng did not have the time to teach him these things. Since he had already adapted to the modern society, he could stay by his side. Ah Yuan, You don't need to return to the ordinary balance this time. Just stay by my side. Tang Zheng said indifferently. Yi Yuan beamed with joy and said excitedly, Thank you, Lord Envoy. But it's even more dangerous to follow me. Tang Zheng joked. Even Lord Envoy is not afraid of danger, so how can Yi Yuan be afraid of danger? Moreover, it is precisely because there is danger that Yi Yuan has a place to use his skills. Yi Yuan said firmly. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and laughed. All right then, let's make our way around the capital. The two of them chatted for a while, and when they returned to their seats, they found that the three of them were chatting happily. Mu Hongyan looked at Tang Zheng in astonishment and sighed. Tang Zheng, I never thought that you would already be able to make such a big impact at such a young age. I've let Sister Mu see a joke. Compared to the industries you managed in the past, my little business is just a drop in the bucket. It's not worth mentioning. You're being modest. Originally, I thought that you were a piece of white paper and that everything had to start from the beginning. But now that we have some foundation, our development will be faster. Mu Hongyan said confidently. Oh, then you guys have a result? Your career is quite complicated, but in the end, there are only two big parts. One is the clubhouse that Mr. Lin mentioned, and the other is the construction company, so we will also have to start building these two parts in the future. The clubhouse is too simple, so we have to set up a hotel management company, which includes the clubhouse, restaurants, and other companies. As for the construction company, if we want to do it, we have to do it big and do it as a real estate company. Mu Hongyan began to draw up a blueprint. Tang Zheng's heartstrings trembled. In the past, he had never thought of integrating the businesses under his banner, nor did he have any plans for the future. But after hearing Mu Hongyan's words, even though it was very simple, he could feel that according to her plans, the future development would definitely not be weak. Do we have enough money? These two industries are burning a lot of money, right? Tang Zheng asked. Mu Hongyan had a difficult expression on her face as she said, This will indeed require a large amount of funds, but we have to plan it well first. Step by step, we will definitely be able to raise the funds. Tang Zheng could not help but sigh. She was indeed a strong woman. Since she was so confident, and Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix's eyes were also shining, Tang Zheng would not pour cold water on them. He slapped the table and said, Good, according to your ideas, as long as you do it big, money is not a problem. Mu Hongyan looked at him in astonishment, not knowing why he was suddenly concerned about money. But since the boss was so generous, they would just follow his instructions. Tang Zheng was indeed not lacking in money. He was no longer that poor student who had to rack his brains for $100,000. He had too many ways to earn money, but he had never thought about it before. Chapter 383. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another 10 days had passed. In order to understand more about Tang Zheng's businesses, Mu Hongyan, along with Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix, went to the ordinary balance to investigate. Tang Zheng and Nana stayed behind. Tang Zheng bought 2 houses near the school, one for Yi Yuan, and the other for Tang Zheng and Nana. Now that Nana and Tang Zheng were together, it was impossible for Tang Zheng to stay in the dormitory, so he moved out. During this period of time, a magical scene appeared on the campus of Yinqing University. A boy brought a delicate little daughter to class, occasionally strolling around the campus, and occasionally followed by another great beauty. These 3 people were Tang Zheng, Nana, and Yi Dingding. Li Shoutian had suddenly disappeared in the past few days, causing Tang Zheng to be at peace for a few more days. Tang Zheng knew that she had gone to investigate Lewis's movements. Lewis had disappeared from the face of the earth, so they guessed that the other party had not left Huaxia yet. They did not know what other schemes he had, so they had to be on guard. As for the martial sect, they did not directly come to find trouble with Tang Zheng. It seemed that they were still investigating the whereabouts of the demon god and the third elder, but they did not have any leads. The commotion caused by the martial arts assembly had gradually subsided, and no one would point at Tang Zheng as he walked on the road. Tang Zheng, other than going to class every day, would occasionally discuss archaeology with Professor Qi Shaowen. Other than that, he would either cultivate by himself or cultivate with Lu Qingmei. Of course, he would also spend a lot of time playing with Nana. Lu Qingmei had not found a job yet. He used to be a teacher, so there were not many professional jobs. However, she was not in a hurry and worked hard to cultivate every day. Just as Tang Zheng finished his class and went downstairs, Nana flew towards him. When he was in class, Yuan looked after Nana. "Big brother, where are we going to play today?" Nana asked curiously. These few days, the little girl had been pestering Tang Zheng to play in many places in the capital. Before Tang Zheng could reply, Li Shoutian walked over with a dark face and said in a deep voice, "Tang Zheng, there's news?" "What news?" "Lewis and Wales went to South Yunnan." "Hey, what are they going to South Yunnan for?" Although their whereabouts were secretive, they were still foreigners. In the end, they were unable to escape the Li Palace's intelligence network. "I don't know. Their whereabouts are mysterious, and their schemes are not small." Tang Zheng frowned. He could not figure out the other of Tang Zheng's goal. "I'm going to South Yunnan. Are you coming?" Li Shoutian asked. Before Tang Zheng could answer, his phone rang. It was a call from Professor Qi Shaowen, asking Tang Zheng to go to his office. "I'll go to Professor Qi's office first. We'll talk in detail later," Tang Zheng said. After getting along with him for a while, he had a good impression of Qi Shaowen. This little old man talked about archaeology in a serious manner, but he was an upright person and was indeed knowledgeable. "Big brother, I'll go too," Nana said reluctantly. Now, she no longer called Tang Zheng brother godly doctor, but directly called him brother. This way, it would not cause unnecessary trouble. "All right, let's go." A moment later, the two of them arrived at Qi Shaowen's office. Qi Shaowen was studying an antique carefully. He raised his head and saw Nana. He asked curiously, "Tang Zheng, whose little girl is this? She's so cute." "She's my little sister. She's playing in school, so I brought her along," Tang Zheng said. Nana nodded at Qi Shaowen obediently. "Hello, Grandpa. Are you my big brother's teacher?" Qi Shaowen laughed. "This little girl is quite smart. Have a seat. I have something important to talk to you about." "What is it?" "Do you still remember that I mentioned to you that there was a new archaeological discovery in South Yunnan?" Qi Shaowen asked excitedly, as if something had excited him. Tang Zheng remembered. Qi Shaowen did mention it to him some time ago, but he did not take it to heart. "What new discovery?" Hee, this is the biggest archaeological discovery in recent years. I have a feeling that it will shock and even turn the archaeological world upside down." Tang Zheng's curiosity was piqued. He waited quietly for him to reveal the secret. "Our country's satellite reconnaissance found that there are many tall, mysterious stone statues in the South Yunnan Mountains. They have never been detected before. Maybe it's because of the advancement of science and technology." "Mysterious stone statues?" Tang Zheng was shocked. His heart thumped wildly. He subconsciously thought of the guardian deities of the Wu tribe, the 4 stone statues that were about 10 feet tall. Yes, this is a new discovery in the archaeological world. The 100,000 Mountains has always been a blind spot in the archaeological world because of the rampant miasma, swamps, and ferocious birds and beasts. In the past, many archaeological teams wanted to go in and explore, but none of them returned. Therefore, no one in the archaeological world went to explore that unknown mysterious area. Qi Shaowen said regretfully. After a pause, his eyes lit up again. He continued, "But it's different this time. This time, we really made a big discovery. The 4 stone statues are very tall. They must be the work of the ancient people. But why are they in the South Yunnan Mountains? There must be many secrets behind it. As long as we can solve these secrets, it will be a great event in the archaeological world." Seeing how excited Qi Shaowen was, Tang Zheng felt as if his heart had fallen into an ice cave. He was certain that the 4 stone statues detected by the satellite must be the guardian deities of the Wu tribe. As for why the satellite had only detected them now, it was not because of the advancement of science and technology. It was because Tang Zheng had destroyed the prohibition of the South Yunnan Mountains. Thus, everything was exposed to the light of day. Tang Zheng could not help but feel regretful. If he did not destroy the prohibition, the Wu tribe would not be able to cultivate. This was a paradox. At this point, there was no use regretting. The key was how to fix it. He thought for a moment and said, "Professor Qi, didn't you say that the South Yunnan Mountains are full of dangers? In the past, the archaeological teams have never returned. We can't put ourselves in danger just because of this news. Qi Shaowen refuted. Which profession is not dangerous? In the past, we stopped exploring because we did not have conclusive evidence. Now that we have solid evidence, we can't just give up. Archaeology is a profession with many risks. We often have to go to places where ordinary people can't reach. Therefore, in addition to professional knowledge, we need to have a strong body. You are very good at it. You are so good at martial arts and have a natural sensitivity. You are born to be in this profession. The higher-ups have made a decision. This time, they will send an archaeological team to South Yunnan to investigate. We didn't break into the South Yunnan mountains before. This time, we will not give up until we reach our goal. Qi Shaowen said heroically. Tang Zheng's expression had become very ugly. If this was the case, wouldn't the Wu tribe be exposed? If that was the case, he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse. Tang Zheng, what's wrong? You look so pale. Are you not feeling well? Qi Shaowen asked with concern. Tang Zheng quickly shook his head and smiled awkwardly. I'm fine. Tang Zheng, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I will participate in this archaeological expedition as well. Originally, you didn't have a chance, but you are my disciple. Of course, I will fight for this opportunity for you. So, come with me. Qi Shaowen patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and said, undergraduate students were not qualified to participate in this level of archaeological expedition. If it were not for Qi Shaowen, the higher-ups would not have agreed to this request. Don't feel burdened. Although this expedition is dangerous, as long as we are careful, it will not be a big problem. Qi Shaowen thought that Tang Zheng was afraid, so he comforted him gently. However, Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. Since this archaeology was imperative, and he had no way of stopping it, then following the archaeology team was a good idea. He said gratefully, thank you, Professor Qi. I will use this opportunity to learn humbly. Haha, I knew I wasn't wrong. Get ready, we'll set off tomorrow. Qi Shaowen smiled in satisfaction. Tang Zheng held Nana's hand and left the office. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan were waiting downstairs. Upon seeing Tang Zheng, Li Xiaotian asked impatiently, I'm going to South Yunnan to track down the whereabouts of those two people. What are you going to do? Li Xiaotian could not care less about the heaven-shocking bow for the time being. I will go to South Yunnan with the archaeological team tomorrow. You can go first. We will keep in touch when the time comes. Tang Zheng said, You're going to South Yunnan with the archaeological team? Yes, it's said that the archaeologists have made a new discovery, so Professor Qi brought me along to broaden my horizons. Tang Zheng said calmly, not mentioning the stone statue. Although Li Xiaotian had entered the 10,000 huge mountains, he did not reach the settlement of the witch clan. All right, then I'll take my leave first. I'll contact you when the time comes. Tang Zheng, I'm leaving again. Why don't you give me the heaven-shocking bow now? Li Xiaotian said, unwilling to give up. Tang Zheng was silent. The heaven-shocking bow was his life-saving treasure. How could he give it to her? Seeing that Tang Zheng was ignoring him, Li Xiaotian curled his lips helplessly, turned around and left and snorted. I will definitely take back the heaven-shocking bow. Seeing that Li Xiaotian had walked far away, Tang Zheng then whispered to Yi Yuan about the discovery of the satellite and the purpose of the archaeological team. Yi Yuan was shocked when he heard this. Yi Yuan had learned a lot in the past few months. It was not the ancient times anymore. Technology was advanced, and weapons were incomparable. No matter how strong a person was, they would not be able to contend against modern weapons. If the witch clan were to be discovered by the archaeological team, they would most likely be studied as Shao by mice. That would be terrifying. Lord Envoy, what should we do now? Yi Yuan asked helplessly. Tang Zheng warned, immediately return to the 10,000 huge mountains and inform the elders of this news. See if the elders have any countermeasures. I will follow the archaeological team and act according to the situation. In short, we must not let the witch clan be exposed. Yi Yuan also had no good ideas and could only accept the order worriedly. Yes, Lord Envoy, I will definitely pass on your orders to the elders. But can we really turn the situation around this time? Chapter 384. After Yi Yuan returned to the witch tribe, Li Xiaotian left first and left Nana in Yi Dingdong's care. After he left, Only the Ye family could guarantee Nana's safety. Yi Dingding only knew that Tang Zheng was going to Dianan for archaeology. Although she was reluctant to part with him, there was nothing she could do. As for Lu Qingmei, she did not go with him. She was busy cultivating and looking for a job every day. He also took Xiaobai to bid farewell to the five-clawed golden dragon, but he did not ask Xiaobai to stay. On this trip to the 100,000 Mountains, Xiaobai was an important helper. Of course, he would accompany him. Early in the morning, a car picked up Qi Shaowen and Tang Jing and went straight to Beijing International Airport. Tang Zheng carried a small travel bag with him, but Professor Qi Shaowen had a lot of luggage. Professor Qi kept explaining the customs of Dianan to Tang Zheng along the way. They only stopped when they reached the airport. Tang Zheng, this time, we have a total of 20 archaeologists in our team. They are all elites in the field of archaeology. You have to be humble and learn from them. Do you understand? Qi Shaowen reminded him. Tang Zheng nodded his head. Professor Qi, don't worry, I still understand this bit of courtesy. Qi Shaowen patted him on the shoulder with relief. A shout interrupted their conversation. A team of more than 10 archaeologists waved at them and quickly walked over. Qi Professor, you're here? Qi Shaowen nodded with a smile. You're here early. This mission is a new discovery in the field of archaeology. Everyone can't wait. One of the archaeologists walked out and said with a cold face, Haha, yes. I have a feeling that our archaeology will be a success. Qi Shaowen was also very confident. Hello, Professor Qi. My name is Lu Ming. I'm the leader of this archaeology team. The archaeologist introduced himself to Qi Shaowen. Qi Shaowen looked at him in surprise and said, Forgive me for not recognizing you. Are you an archaeologist? Why haven't I seen you before? Seeing that the other party had not heard of his name, Lu Ming's face flashed with a hint of displeasure. He said seriously, Yes, I'm not from the ancient examination field, but from the government. This archaeological project is led by the government, so I was appointed as the team leader to coordinate all the work. Lu Ming's tone was a little arrogant, but Qi Shaowen didn't take it to heart. All he cared about was archaeology, so he gave a soft "oh" to show his understanding. Seeing that Qi Shaowen was unwilling to talk more about it, Lu Ming added, The archaeological expedition this time will be dangerous, so there will be military personnel accompanying the entire expedition. Military? Qi Shaowen's eyes widened in disbelief. In the past, archaeology was not of such a high standard. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. Could it be that the military was involved in this matter? Could it be that they had a special understanding of the stone statues? Perhaps they had discovered some clues from the stone statues? Oh, it doesn't matter. Since we have the military's protection, we can focus on our archaeology. However, I hope that you won't interfere with our professional work. Qi Shaowen reminded. A strange look flashed across Lu Ming's face. Just then, a group of people walked quickly toward them. These people all looked determined and stern. They walked with majestic gait. At first glance, one could tell that they were soldiers. However, they were all dressed in casual clothes. Hello, are you team leader Lu? That's me. You all know what your mission is this time, right? Now, let's board the plane. Lu Ming ordered with a straight face. Yes, sir. The group went through the security check. Suddenly, a staff member shouted, Whose pet is this? You can't bring it on the plane. Everyone's eyes turned in unison. They saw Tang Zheng holding a pure white puppy-like animal in his arms. Xiaobai was in Tang Zheng's travel bag just now. At this time, it would definitely show up at the security check. This time, Tang Zheng did not cast an illusion to make Xiaobai disappear. After all, Xiaobai would definitely show up along the way. If a small animal suddenly appeared in southern Yunnan, it would be suspicious. Unexpectedly, Xiaobai was stopped at the first checkpoint. Lu Ming walked over with a serious expression and asked in a deep voice, What's the matter? This passenger's pet can't be brought on the plane. The staff member said, What's wrong with you? This is an archaeology trip, not a sightseeing trip. How can you bring a pet? Lu Ming asked sternly. Tang Zheng answered calmly, This is my pet. I left the capital, and no one took care of it, so I have to bring it with me. How can you do that? This is nonsense. Put the animal down quickly. The plane is about to take off. Lu Ming ordered without hesitation. Yes, His tone was very harsh. He was using a commanding tone. Although he was respectful to Qi Shaowen, he did not treat other people the same way. After all, Qi Shaowen was a leading figure in the archaeology field. Although he was the team leader, he did not dare to be too arrogant. However, this did not mean that he did not dare to be rude to others. Tang Zheng became the first person to bear the brunt of his anger. Looking at Tang Zheng, Lu Ming's expression was serious, but his eyes flashed with contempt. He knew the members of this archaeology team. Except for Tang Zheng, everyone else had participated in archaeology several times and had a lot of work experience. Only Tang Zheng, a newcomer, was given this opportunity because of Qi Shaowen's recommendation. Therefore, Lu Ming looked down on Tang Zheng from the bottom of his heart. Since you're a newcomer and you're not obedient, I'll take this opportunity to teach you a lesson. I'll establish my authority as the team leader. Lu Ming thought to himself. If this archaeology trip was successful, it would definitely be a shocking discovery. Lu Ming knew this very well. He had fought hard to get this opportunity. This would be the highlight of his career in the future. He could not afford to make any mistakes. Tang Zheng's expression turned cold. If the other party spoke politely, he would of course speak politely too. The other party was bossing him around, as if he was superior to others. This made him very unhappy. Without hesitation, he retorted, I must bring Xiao Bai with me? Humph, then you don't have to go, Lu Ming said mercilessly. Seeing that Lu Ming was angry at Tang Zheng, Xiao Bai bared its teeth at him. Its eyes were fierce, as if it could spit fire at any time. Tang Zheng patted its little head, indicating for it to calm down. Team leader Lu, why don't you make an exception? Qi Shaowen persuaded. Tang Zheng had already reported to him about Xiao Bai. He did not think it was a big deal, so he agreed. Professor Qi, I know he's your disciple, but as a newcomer in the archaeology field, he must abide by the rules. Besides, I'm the team leader of this team. If I say you can't bring him, then you can't. Lu Ming did not back down. Seeing that both parties were at a stalemate, the others looked up. Lu Ming could not back down. This concerned his dignity. Qi Shaowen continued in an amiable tone. Team leader Lu, I've already promised him. Please make an exception this time. It's just a small animal. Just make sure it won't run around on the plane. Besides, I've heard that this is a private flight. There won't be any other passengers, so there won't be any trouble. Qi Shaowen had also agreed to Tang Zheng's request because of the private plane. The staff looked at Lu Ming, obviously asking for his opinion. Professor Qi, I know he's your disciple, but you can't spoil him like this. This will only harm him. We're already being very generous by letting him participate this time. Let him bring a pet with him. This is ridiculous. Professor Qi, he's tarnishing your reputation. Lu Ming's voice rose a few octaves. Qi Shaowen's expression darkened. The others could also see that Lu Ming was not only targeting Tang Zheng, but was also using this opportunity to knock some sense into Qi Shaowen. Qi Shaowen had the most prestige in the team, even more so than Lu Ming, the team leader. Lu Ming wanted to improve his reputation, so naturally, he wanted to weaken Qi Shaowen's. Tang Zheng's expression darkened. He did not mind being scolded, but he could not stand to see Lu Ming humiliating Professor Qi like this. You didn't want me to bring him, right? Then I won't go, said Tang Zheng. No, you have to go. Qi Shaowen was determined to nurture Tang Zheng. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Qi Shaowen raised his head and looked at Lu Ming with burning eyes. He said, Tang Zheng is my disciple. You can say that I'm spoiling him or that I'm partial to him, but I'll keep my promise to him. If he can't take part in this archaeological expedition, then I won't. Everyone was shocked to hear this. They did not expect Qi Shaowen to be so fond of Tang Zheng and to think so highly of him. Even Tang Zheng was surprised. This little old man was becoming more and more adorable. His stubbornness was admirable. Seeing that Qi Shaowen was not backing down, Lu Ming panicked. If Qi Shaowen did not take part, then this archaeological expedition would be ruined. He could not bear such a responsibility. He gritted his teeth and glared at Tang Zheng. He even glared at Xiao Bai, causing Xiao Bai to squeak in dissatisfaction. Qi Shaowen's expression changed several times. In the end, he compromised and said, since Professor Qi insists, then I'll let it go this time. Just don't do it again. However, in the future, you must listen to orders. Moreover, this team doesn't keep idle people. If you can't do your job well, you'll be shown in the reports in the future. Lu Ming was threatening Tang Zheng. He guessed that Tang Zheng would work in archaeology in the future. His department was in charge of archaeology, so he had the power to decide the life and death of the archaeologists. Of course, there were exceptions. For example, Qi Shaowen was a prominent figure in the field of archaeology. Ordinary people could not threaten his position at all. Tang Zheng may be young, but he has great talent in archaeology. He's not idle, Qi Shaowen retorted. The others also looked at Tang Zheng curiously, especially the other archaeologists. They were especially curious about Tang Zheng's magic to be able to conquer Professor Qi. After this incident, everyone finally boarded the plane. Xiao Bai's big eyes were wide open. It was the little guy's first time on a plane. He could not help but be curious. Tang Zheng, don't worry about it. Just do your job. Qi Shaowen sat beside him and comforted him. Professor Qi, thank you, Tang Zheng said sincerely. Chapter 385. Although it was winter in southern Yunnan, because it was in the subtropics, it was much warmer than the capital. As soon as they got off the plane, everyone felt a warm wave of air blowing against their faces. More than a dozen cars had already been parked outside the airport. After getting on the car, the group went straight to the hotel. Everyone would rest in the city for a day before rushing to the 10,000 mountains. After staying at the hotel, Tang Zheng left the hotel and saw Li Xiaotian, who had already arrived. I found traces of Louis. Li Xiaotian went straight to the point. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. He gave a thumbs up and praised. Li Palace is indeed powerful. These two people were not able to escape your intelligence network. Don't just exclaim in admiration. I found something strange. Li Xiaotian's face sank as he said, "Oh?" Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. Something that could make Li Xiaotian feel strange was definitely not simple. What is it? Do you still remember Long Tengyu? Of course. Louis's men are following Long Tengyu. Li Xiaotian was also puzzled. How could the Rockefeller family be related to the Long family? A trace of surprise flashed across Tang Zheng's eyes. Seeing his expression, Li Xiaotian obviously guessed his thoughts and said, "It seems that you can't guess the reason." "I can't guess. Why don't we go and check it out?" Tang Zheng said. Li Xiaotian laughed and said, "Great minds think alike." Suddenly, Li Xiaotian's phone rang. After she answered, she said, "Louis has already made his move. He left the hotel and is rushing towards Long Tengyu's villa." "Oh, so they're going to meet?" "Yes, in the past few days, it was only Louis's men who were following Long Tengyu. This time, he personally came out. I guess the two of them are going to meet," Li Xiaotian said with certainty. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. These two must be up to something when they met. This was also a rare opportunity to find out what they were up to. "Let's go and see what they have up their sleeves," Tang Zheng said without hesitation. Li Xiaotian pursed his lips into a smile and said, "Let's go." Sitting in Li Xiaotian's car, the car went straight to Long Tengyu's villa and stopped at a corner to watch. Not long after, 3 cars quietly arrived outside the villa, but were stopped. After negotiating for a while, the 3 cars drove into the villa's parking lot, and more than 10 people quickly got out of the car. They were all Westerners, and Louis and Wales were among them. "Let's go. Let's follow them and take a look," Tang Zheng said. Li Xiaotian was also a fearless person. He quickly got out of the car, hid his figure, and quickly approached the villa. Whoosh whoosh. 2 figures soared into the air and crossed the high walls of the villa. They didn't trigger the alarm and quietly landed inside the walls. However, the 2 of them didn't stop. Like an arrow leaving the bow, they rushed to the corner of the villa and avoided a group of patrolling bodyguards. Without a doubt, these bodyguards were Long Tengyu's private armed forces. Each of them was powerful, and there was even something bulging under their black suits. Without a doubt, it was definitely a firearm. As the local tyrant of Dianan, the Long family's armed forces were naturally not ordinary. Fortunately, this was not the Long family's old house, but Long Tengyu's independent residence outside. Otherwise, the security would be even tighter. Li Xiaotian took out a sharp dagger and directly cut open the window glass. The two of them entered the villa through the window, and a faint conversation could be heard. "Louis, why are you looking for me?" This was Long Tingyu's voice, and it was a little cold. Louis laughed. "I have long heard of young Master Long's great name. This time, I specially came to pay a visit. Your Rockefeller family is not in the Western Empire. What are you doing in Dianan?" Long Tingyu asked. "Of course there's something. This time, I came to find young Master Long because it's a great thing." Long Tingyu was not an idiot. He said with a fake smile, "Oh, then I'd like to hear it. Young Master Long, I heard that you have been entertaining an important guest recently?" Louis asked. Long Tingyu's expression changed slightly and said, "I don't understand what you are talking about." "Haha, young Master Long. Using your Hua Xia's words, I, Louis, have never fought a battle that I am not confident in. Since I have personally come to visit, then I am naturally not unprepared. You are looking down on me too much by brushing me off like this," Louis said jokingly. His face was no longer as humble as before. Instead, it was arrogant. As the young lord of the Rockefeller family, his aura was not inferior to Long Tingyu's in the slightest. This made Long Tingyu not dare to underestimate him. However, Long Tingyu was even more shocked in his heart. Recently, he had been entertaining two guests. One was Sawada Ichiro, and the other was the demon god. Even the people around him did not know the identities of these two people. In order not to be discovered by his family, he did not even return to the Long family's old residence. Louis had always said that he wanted to see his guests, so how could he not be on guard? The identities of these two guests were of great importance, so he would not obediently confess just because of a few words from the other party. "Young Master Long, let's not beat around the bush. Please invite your guest out. I really want to see him," Louis said as if victory was in his hands. "I don't understand what you're talking about. See the guest out." Long Tingyu's face instantly turned cold, and he unceremoniously ordered the guests to leave. A few bodyguards directly blocked in front of Louis and the others, their expressions unfriendly. "Young Master Long, is this how you treat your guests?" Louis asked without changing his expression. Long Tingyu said disdainfully, "You don't have to worry about how I treat my guests. If you don't want to leave, I don't mind throwing you out. Let me tell you, this is Dianan, the Long family. What Rockefeller family, in my eyes, is worthless. How dare you insult the Rockefeller family?" Suddenly, Wales shouted angrily, "So what if I insult you? I still want to hit you. Since you don't want to leave, then don't leave. Get rid of them." Long Tengyu ordered with a murderous aura. Kacha. One by one, the black muzzles of guns were aimed at Louis and the others. All of Long Tingyu's bodyguards had taken out their guns, revealing their killing intent. Louis and the others did not change their expressions. Instead, they looked at Long Tengyu with some ridicule. With the deterrence of the gun, Long Tingyu's aura was obviously on another level. He said, "I don't know how you know about my guests, but since you know, then don't even think about living. Haha, young Master Long really has a good method." Louis clapped his hands and praised insincerely. "Humph, of course it's a good method. You foreigner, you dare to barge in without asking about my Long Tingyu's name? You're really courting death," Long Tengyu said disdainfully. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian were hiding in a corner far away, restraining their auras. Seeing the tense scene, the two of them were shocked. They did not understand what Louis was selling in his gourd. Of course, they were also very interested in Long Tingyu's guests. Just who was it that made Long Tengyu mobilize so many people and was so afraid of others knowing? Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian looked at each other and saw the doubts in each other's hearts. However, they could not talk and could only continue to watch how this matter developed. However, the two of them were very sure that these guns were not enough to threaten Louis. Sure enough, Louis laughed and said, "I know that Huaxia people have always been very proud, but I have to say, there is always someone better than you. Young Master Long wants to kill us with just these few guns. You think too simply of us." As soon as he finished speaking, a figure flashed, and all of Louis's subordinates moved. All of the pistols changed owners and landed in their hands. Then, with a kacha sound, the pistols were completely deformed, and were actually crushed into scrap iron with their bare hands. Long Tingyu's bodyguards were so scared that they all retreated. Although they had some skills, they were completely unable to reach such a level. On the other hand, the dozen or so people on the other side all had such skills. It was simply terrifying. No wonder the other side had such confidence. Long Tingyu's expression changed slightly. His gaze turned cold and said, "You dare to make a move? You don't know life from death." Haha, young Master Long, you guys made the first move, so you can't blame us. But can we sit down and talk now? Lewis walked down, crossed his legs, glanced at Long Tengyu and asked. Obviously, he had displayed his strength and controlled the entire scene. However, Long Tengyu was not a good person either, and said, "You want to sit down and talk after making a move in my territory? Are you kidding me? If you don't want to sit down and talk, then it doesn't matter. I think as long as I capture you, your guest will naturally come out and talk to me." Lewis signaled with his eyes, and a few big men immediately rushed towards Long Tengyu. Long Tengyu suddenly stood up and flew into a rage. Kill them all for me." All of the bodyguards made their move like a swarm of bees. Some of them had more than one gun, so at this moment, they all pulled out another gun and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of gunshots rang out as bullets whistled towards Lewis's men. There were even countless bullets that shot directly towards Lewis. However, Lewis did not move at all and continued to sit on the sofa with his legs crossed. But there was a person standing in front of him, Wells. At this moment, the aura on his body had completely changed. It had become exceptionally sharp, emitting the aura of a man who could hold back 10,000 men. When the bullets came, he casually waved his hand, causing the air to vibrate. The bullets directly brushed past him and flew away. Not a single one of them was able to hurt him, let alone Lewis, who was behind him. Long Tingyu's bodyguards had the advantage in terms of numbers, but this was only the beginning. When the battle started, the advantages and disadvantages of both sides immediately appeared. A minute later, the number of people on both sides had undergone an earth-shattering change. Many of Long Tingyu's bodyguards had already fallen, while Lewis had the upper hand in terms of numbers. Furthermore, these tall and strong fellows were extremely sharp. Many of them had their hands and feet broken by them, and they would probably be crippled for the rest of their lives. The might of thunder. Chapter 386. Not long later, other than Long Tengyu, all of the people standing were Lewis's men. Long Tingyu's eyes were about to spit fire, but he had already understood that since the other party's subordinates were so powerful, then he would not be able to gain any benefits by making a move himself. However, he was not afraid. Instead, he was angry. Suddenly, he laughed out loud, and his laughter was very arrogant and unbridled. "There is a path to heaven, but you don't want to walk. There is no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Then I'll fulfill your wish today. Didn't you want to see my guest? Then I'll do as you wish, but you're going to see King Yama soon." Long Tengyu clenched his teeth and said. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. A terrifying aura covered the sky and completely enveloped everyone. Whiz! A red shadow flew past. Puff, puff, puff. A few people's chests instantly appeared with large holes. Blood flowed out, and these people instantly fell to the ground and died. In the blink of an eye, these people died. Their speed was too fast for the eyes to take in. Wales revealed a shocked expression as he guarded in front of Lewis. Lewis's expression also changed, but there was no fear. Instead, there was excitement, and he couldn't help but clench his fists. The red shadow didn't stop. Instead, it moved through the crowd like a gust of wind. Lewis's men tried to retaliate, but it was to no avail. In the end, other than Lewis and Wales, everyone fell. Their fatal wounds were the bloody holes in their chests. In an instant, blood filled the air. It was a horrifying sight. Long Tengyu looked at Lewis and Wales complacently and said, "Now you know how powerful I am. You dare to cause trouble in my territory. Humph. Your death is not regrettable." Lewis stood up and patted Wales's shoulder, indicating for him to move aside. Wales tensed up and anxiously shouted, "Young lord, be careful." However, Lewis was unmoved. He walked past him and stared at the red shadow. The red shadow had already stopped and revealed its true appearance. Demon God. This red shadow was actually a demon god. The demon god's eyes flickered with a bloody light and his body exuded a strange aura. He stared at Lewis expressionlessly and was not in a hurry to attack. Demon God. He wants to inquire about your whereabouts. He definitely has ill intentions. Kill him. Long Tengyu said with a murderous aura. The demonic god was unmoved and asked, I heard that you were looking for me? Yes, I'm looking for you. The famous demon god, Lewis said with certainty. Long Tengyu's expression changed slightly. The other party was trying every means to find the demon god. What exactly was he trying to do? Since you've seen me, you can die in peace now. As soon as he finished speaking, the god fiend took action. He was very fast, but Lewis was not slow either. He turned into a black shadow and instantly retreated to the corner of the wall. Then, he stepped on the wall and soared into the air as if he was walking on flat ground. He then flew over the god fiend's head and landed behind him. Long Tengyu turned pale with fright. His skills were not bad, but in front of the demon god, he did not even have the strength to retaliate. However, this Lewis was actually able to escape from the demon god's attack unscathed. This was too unbelievable. The demon god's gaze turned cold as the blood in his eyes fluctuated rapidly. He shouted coldly, You dare to escape in front of me? Imph, you don't know your place. With a flash of the red shadow, the demon god disappeared, and Lewis once again turned into a black shadow. In the end, he quickly dodged, wanting to avoid the demon god. After a minute of stalemate, the black shadow fell from the sky. Wales immediately rushed forward and caught Lewis. Puff. Lewis opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Lewis laughed instead. The demon god is indeed extraordinary. I am not your match. The demon god snorted and said, It's good that you know. Then end it yourself and save me the trouble of doing it. Long Tengyu's face flushed red. He was extremely excited and said, Foreigner, obediently accept your death, haha. However, Lewis did not even look at Long Tengyu. Instead, he stared at the demon god with burning eyes and said, Demon god, if I die, it will not be good for you. Instead, it will cause you to suffer losses. Boasting shamelessly. The demon god did not believe him at all. Don't think that I can let you go just because you say a few words of nonsense. Since you don't want to kill yourself, then I'll help you. You're not weak. After absorbing your blood, my power can recover quite a bit. Whiz. The demon god quickly rushed towards Lewis. Wales immediately blocked in front of him, wanting to protect him, but with a loud bang, Wales flew out like a kite with a broken string, landing on a pure wood table in a sorry state, shattering the table into pieces. He staggered as he got up, but in the end, he fell to the ground again, never to stand up again. All of this happened in a flash, but Lewis did not move at all. He did not resist at all. Instead, he looked straight at the demon god who was getting closer and closer. Crack. The demon god's hand grabbed Lewis's neck. Seeing that he still did not resist, he could not help but ask suspiciously, Why aren't you retaliating? Of course I won't retaliate, because I won't die. Lewis said indifferently, You've already fallen into my hands. Do you still have the ability to escape? Of course I don't have the ability to escape from your hands, but I believe you won't kill me, Lewis said confidently. Haha, fun. You're much more fun than that brat surnamed Long. However, I have to say that you're too arrogant and conceited. Go to hell. The demon god shouted angrily and immediately increased the strength of his hand. When Long Tengyu heard the demon god say that he was inferior to Lewis, he could not help but feel a flash of anger, but he did not dare to refute. However, the corner of his mouth hooked up into a sneer as he thought to himself, So what if you're stronger than me? You're going to die now, and everything is in vain. Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian watched this scene with their mouths agape. The two of them were searching for the whereabouts of the demon god, but they never expected that the demon god was actually hiding in the Long family of Dianan. No wonder the Lee Palace had never discovered him. However, the Rockefeller family had discovered the whereabouts of the demon god. In other words, the Lee Palace, which boasted of being invincible in intelligence, had been defeated by the Rockefeller family. A look of shame appeared on Li Xiaoyan's face. This also showed how terrifying the Rockefeller family's infiltration of Huaxia was from another perspective. Tang Zheng was a little shocked. The Rockefeller family had a great plan, so he had to be on guard. However, he was very puzzled as to why Louis was looking for the demon god. At this moment, it was obvious that Louis was about to die, so why didn't he resist? Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian looked at each other and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. However, they had a tacit understanding and did not make a move. They had already guessed that Louis definitely had a backup plan. Otherwise, it was not his style to be captured without a fight. The bones in Louis's throat made cracking sounds, as if his throat was about to be crushed in the next moment. Demon God, if you kill me, the demon race will not be able to descend into this world. Louis suddenly shouted. His voice was not loud, but it exploded in the demon god's mind like thunder. He had never mentioned the arrival of the demon god to Long Tengyu, but this foreigner knew about it. It was truly strange. He couldn't help but loosen his grip a little and asked, "How do you know about this?" "Haha, not only do I know about this, I also know that after the demon race descends, they will definitely be able to rule this world, and my family and I can help you," Louis said solemnly. Long Tengyu was already dumbstruck. What demon race descends? He didn't know anything, but seeing the demon god's reaction, this matter was definitely not simple. He couldn't help but stare at Louis in shock. How did this foreigner know so many secrets? If he doesn't die, what will I do in the future? He felt a strong threat. He had formed a strong alliance with the demon god because he could provide the demon god with many things he needed, such as martial warriors. During this period of time, Long Tengyu had tried every possible method to find many martial warriors for the demon god. The blood of these martial warriors had all been sucked dry by the demon god, allowing him to increase his strength. If Louis had formed an alliance with the demon god, then his position would be in danger. Of course, he could not sit idly by and do nothing. So he quickly shouted, "Demon god, don't listen to his nonsense, quickly kill him." The demon god turned his head and glanced at Long Tengyu, his nostrils releasing a cold snort. Immediately, Long Tengyu felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was deathly pale. His heart was wavering. A powerful aura made it hard for him to breathe. He immediately shut up, not daring to speak any more nonsense. "Speak. How can you help me?" the demon god asked. Louis said, "I can provide enough manpower and resources to support your demon clan's formation, so that all the demon clan can descend. You even know about our demon clan's formation?" The demon god was a little shocked. He obviously did not expect an ordinary human to know so much information. Not only was the demon god shocked, even Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian felt that it was inconceivable. Tang Zheng subconsciously thought of the formation set up by the demon clan in the valley, using blood as a guide to allow the demon god to descend into the world. Could it be that there was an even more powerful formation that allowed the entire demon clan to descend into this world? Then how did Louis know this secret? What good would it do him to do this? The more Tang Zheng thought about it, the more shocked he became. Without a doubt, the Rockefeller family was brewing a shocking scheme. This scheme was not only related to the survival of a country, but also related to the survival of everyone in this world. He really had the urge to immediately rush out and ask Louis for a clear explanation, but in the end, he held himself back and stared at Louis without blinking, waiting to see what he would say. "Demon God, your demon clan has a formation called the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice, right?" Louis asked casually. "Huh." The demon god's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Louis with even more surprise. "You actually know about this formation. This is a great killing formation. Of course, with the mountains and rivers as a sacrifice and the blood of the people as a guide. This formation is enough to allow all the demon clan to descend into this world." Louis's eyes did not waver in the slightest as he spoke casually. Chapter 387. Louis did not even blink as he continued, "Demon God, With my help, this formation will definitely succeed. Why are you helping the demon clan? The demon god asked curiously. Lewis revealed a smile and said, "This world should allow stronger people to exist. It shouldn't be like this." The demon god frowned and said, "Oh, when the time comes, the demon clan will start a massacre. Don't tell me you don't have any psychological burden at all? Those who achieve great things do not care about small matters. Furthermore, didn't Huasya have a saying, 'A small amount is not a gentleman, a poison is not a man'?" Hearing this, the demon god laughed out loud. "That's right, kid. You are the most interesting person I have ever seen in this world. However, I want to tell you, even without you, I can still complete the mountain river blood sacrifice formation." That might not be the case. After all, this is not the ancient times. How can it be easy for you to gather so many people? Any further delay would be a huge waste of time for the demon clan. Lewis retorted. The demon god's heart moved. Without a doubt, Lewis's method had moved him. He came to this world with a heavy responsibility on his shoulders, but until now, his progress had stagnated, causing him to be very depressed. Originally, he wanted to use Long Tingyu's power to set up this formation, but before he could tell Aprohui, Lewis had already come knocking on his door. This truly shocked him. He did not need to think to understand that Lewis was definitely doing this for the sake of sharing a greater benefit when the demon clan arrived in the future. That little benefit was not the focus of the demon god. As long as the demon clan arrived in this world first, then all sacrifices would be enough to make up for it. Although Long Tingyu did not know what the mountain river blood sacrifice formation was, he could clearly see that the demon god was moved. That way, Lewis would not die. He turned pale with fright and immediately shouted, "Demon god, I can do what he can do, and the Long family is blessed by the heavens. I will definitely be able to meet your requirements and satisfy you." Lewis laughed disdainfully. "Do you know what the mountain river blood sacrifice formation is? Do you know what to pay attention to? Ridiculous." Long Tingyu's face alternated between red and white, and said, "What does a foreigner like you know? God fiend, don't listen to his nonsense. Foreigners are all very cunning." Cunning? Haha. In the face of absolute power, cunning is seeking death. The demon god said confidently. Lewis agreed. The demonic god is right. Moreover, I have a sincere heart. I truly want the demon race to descend into this world and build a new and more powerful world. Long Tengyu was speechless. Lewis's aura had completely suppressed him. He was at a loss for what to do. The demon god's gaze swept across the two of them and finally said, "In that case, Long Tengyu, your mission has been completed." Long Tengyu's expression changed greatly as he shouted in panic, "Demon god, what do you mean by that?" Lewis smiled proudly. "You still don't understand? You have completed your mission, so of course you should die. Otherwise, if you reveal the secret of the demon god, that would not be good." Long Tengyu glared at Lewis with resentment, then looked at the demon god. Immediately, he saw that the demon god was expressionless and did not have any intention of refuting Lewis. Long Tengyu immediately revealed a look of fear and shouted, "Master, I am your servant. Don't listen to this foreigner's nonsense." At the critical moment, Long Tengyu finally called him master. Originally, he called him demon god in front of outsiders, but now, in order to survive, he had to call him master. Back then, he and Sawada Ichiro were planted with the soul-devouring seal by the demon god and taken in as servants. However, he did not expect the demon god to turn hostile so quickly. The demon god was indifferent. He did not want Long Tengyu to die, but to test Lewis, he did not speak. From this short contact, whether it was strategy or knowledge, Lewis was obviously superior to Long Tengyu, so the demon god also had the intention to subdue him. This was to test him on purpose, so that he could understand him more clearly. Lewis moved, a black shadow flashed, and blocked Long Tengyu's path. Scram! Long Tengyu roared. A gun appeared in his hand. He aimed at Lewis and pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet whistled, but it flew past Lewis's cheek. In the blink of an eye, Long Tengyu no longer had the chance to fire a second shot. Lewis grabbed onto Long Tengyu, and with a twist, Long Tengyu immediately soared into the air, his body spinning. In addition, Lewis also grabbed onto the pistol, and with a creak, the barrel of the gun was twisted. Long Tengyu's expression changed greatly. He finally used all his strength to break free from Lewis's grasp and quickly retreated, shouting angrily, "This is Dianan, the territory of the Long family. If you kill me, you will definitely not have a good ending." "Who knows I killed you?" Lewis said disdainfully, his body like lightning, pouncing towards Long Tengyu again. From the brief exchange just now, Long Tengyu had already understood that he was not Lewis's opponent, and there was also an unfathomable demon god. He had no chance to escape. He had not expected all of this to happen. He had never expected that the demonic god would try to kill him. He was unwilling, but he did not accept his fate. He quickly retreated, but Lewis was faster than him and was about to catch him. Suddenly, Long Tengyu's eyes lit up when he saw the two figures in the corner, and his eyes immediately widened. He had never looked forward to seeing Tangjung so much, and felt that this face was so kind. He had already learned from Xiaoling what Tangjung had said, and was originally very angry, but all of this, he was not angry, only glad. "Tangjung!" Long Tengyu shouted without hesitation. Tangjung and Li Xiaotian hid in the corner and restrained their auras. They were originally prepared to watch a good show, and this was indeed a good show. Internal strife. However, they did not expect that Long Tengyu would actually retreat at lightning speed and discover their whereabouts. Hearing Long Tengyu's roar, the two of them wanted to retreat quietly, but it was too late. When Lewis heard the two words, Tangjung, his eyes were like lightning as he shot towards the corner. Sure enough, he saw the two of them. He was overwhelmed with shock. His plot with the demon god had actually been broken by them. This time, he was in big trouble. He absolutely could not let these two escape. Thus, he directly abandoned Long Tengyu and attacked Tangjung. Tangjung growled and attacked with lightning speed. Immediately, the two of them exchanged dozens of blows and then quickly retreated. The two of them looked at each other in surprise. Tangjung knew his own strength very well, but in this short exchange of blows, Lewis did not fall into a disadvantageous position. Lewis also frowned as he stared at Tangjung. He thought to himself, no wonder Mutu would die in his hands after transforming. This person's strength was not simple. Long Tengyu regarded Tangjung as his saviors and hurriedly hid beside him, trembling with fear. "It's the two of you again." The demon god looked at the two people in front of him with a surprised expression. Immediately, his face was replaced by anger. "Demon god, you actually have such a despicable plan. You want to use so many people's lives as the price to let the demon clan descend," Tangjung said with righteous indignation. "And you, Lewis, your true face has finally been revealed. You used to pretend to be so polite, but it turns out that you are actually so cold-blooded." Lewis said disdainfully, "Cold-blooded? This is a world where the strong preys on the weak. Without strength, wanting to survive is an extravagant hope. Moreover, with the demon clan in charge of this world will regain its glory. I think that's the glory of your Rockefeller family. It was exchanged for by currying favor with the demon clan. Haha, as long as the family can become strong, is the process that important? What I care about is the result," Lewis said bluntly. "The two of you are courting death, which saves me the trouble of finding you. Back then in the capital, I let you escape. This time, I want to see who can save you," the demon god said proudly. Tangjing and Li Xiaotian looked at each other. Li Xiaotian shrugged his shoulders indifferently and said, "What's the use of looking at me? Let's do it. If we don't fight, how can they let us go?" "Okay, then let's fight to our heart's content," Tangjung said without fear. The demon god did not make a move at all. Instead, he hugged his shoulders and said, "Lewis, Long Tengyu, kill the two of them." Long Tengyu hesitated and said, "Master, if you want to kill me, why should I help you?" "Humph, brainless fellow, if I want to kill you, do you still need Lewis to do it? As long as I activate the soul-devouring seal, you will immediately fall to the ground and die. There's no need to go through so much trouble." The demon god coldly snorted. Long Tengyu felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. That's right. If the demon god wanted to kill him, he only needed to think about it. How could it be so troublesome? In other words, he did not need to die. Long Tengyu was overjoyed. He walked back from the brink of death, and without saying a word, he immediately attacked Tang Zheng fiercely, roaring, "Tang Zheng, today is the day you die. I want to see who will support that woman Mu Hongyin after you die." Lewis's movements were also very fast. In the blink of an eye, Long Tengyu and Lewis joined hands to attack, and they even had a tacit understanding of each other. So, two figures pounced forward. Li Xiaotian actually took the lead and directly faced Lewis, shouting, "I've been looking for you for so long. How can I not test your skills?" The two of them had already fought several times, and every time, Long Tengyu would suffer a great loss. However, this time, with the support of the demon god, Long Tengyu was extremely confident. Even if he was not a match for him, the demon god would be able to help him out. In an instant, the few of them were locked in battle. Their figures flickered, and all that was left in the room were afterimages. Bang! Suddenly, Long Tengyu flew backwards and crashed into the wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Long Tengyu turned pale with fright and shouted, "Master, save me!" The moment he shouted, the demon god also moved. However, Tang Zheng's speed was even faster than him. With a flash of black light, a sword appeared in his hand, the War Soul Sword. So, the War Soul Sword flew out of his hand. Pfft. Chapter 388. Long Tengyu looked at the sword on his chest in disbelief. He did not expect that with the protection of the demon god, he would still be struck by the sword. Furthermore, this was a fatal strike. The War Soul Sword pierced into his heart, causing him to feel his heartbeat rapidly weakening. The reason why Tang Zheng decisively took out the War Soul Sword was because this was a life and death situation. If he did not resist with all his might, he would definitely die. That was why he unhesitatingly took the risk of exposing his identity as a cultivator and used this move. The effect was very good. No one expected this unforeseen event. The demon god's rescue was too late, and Long Tengyu's life force was completely cut off by this sword strike. He would not be merciful to this kind of person who was willing to sacrifice the lives of countless people to serve the demon god. Moreover, the two sides had old enmity. Just based on what he had done to Mu Hongyin and Nana, he deserved to die. The demon god was startled for a moment. He stared at the War Soul Sword, then shifted his gaze to Tang Zheng and roared, "So it's you." The demon god had a deep impression of this sword. When he first came to this world, it was because of the owner of this sword that he was heavily injured and had no choice but to flee in a sorry state. Now, he finally saw the other party's true appearance. So this person had always been on his body. "Tang Zheng, this brat was actually that cultivator. I will tear you into 10,000 pieces." The demon god roared in rage. His hair and beard were all fluttering in the wind, while his clothes fluttered in the wind. A bloody light flashed in his eyes, his killing intent soared, and his face became extremely sinister. Lewis and Wales were also shocked. This was completely out of their expectations. This Tang Zheng was actually a cultivator. When Li Xiaotian saw that Tang Zheng had exposed her identity, she already understood that today was a life and death battle, and could not be careless in the slightest. Tang Zheng waved his hand, and the War Soul Sword flew back into his hand. Long Tengyu slid softly from the wall to the ground, and no longer had any breath. "Demon God, I will definitely stop your demon clan from descending into this world." Tang Zheng pointed the War Soul Sword in his hand at the demon god and said firmly, "Haha, no one can stop the demon race. You hid your identity before, but now that you've been exposed, let's see how you're going to hide. Besides, do you think you can walk out of this door today?" As soon as he finished speaking, the demon god moved. With a flash of blood-red light, the blood blade pierced through the air, heading straight for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng brandished his War Soul Sword and quickly fought with the demon god. The two of them had already fought several times and understood each other's moves. But this time, both of them felt that their cultivation had increased. Tang Zheng, because of the effect of the spirit transformation pill, was a blessing in disguise. He was already at the second level of Anidia. However, it was obvious that during this period of time, Long Tengyu had found many martial warriors for the demon god to suck dry his blood, allowing him to quickly recover his cultivation. The destructive power of the battle between the two was obviously a level higher than that of Li Xiaotian and Lewis. In an instant, a strong wind blew in the room, causing rocks to fly everywhere. It was a complete mess. Tang Zheng, I told you before, you haven't learned all the sword moves of the heaven-flying immortal. You're not my match at all. The demon god said proudly. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth and quickly activated his true essence, immediately activating the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. The wind rose and the clouds surged, and the sword broke through 10,000 caddies. When these two moves were used, in an instant, the entire space was enveloped by a dense sword and tint. However, the demon god was unmoved. Instead, he laughed disdainfully. I've already experienced these two moves before. Do you think you can still hurt me? Tang Zheng snorted and ignored him. With a swoosh, the War Soul Sword seemed to have the power of 1,000 caddies as it fiercely slashed down. Clang! The blood blade met the War Soul Sword. The War Soul Sword suddenly paused, then fiercely slashed onto the floor. Kacha! The floor cracked open, and a huge crack appeared. Haha! Tang Zheng, prepare to die. The demon god leaped into the air, directly passing through the War Soul Sword and charging towards Tang Zheng. The blood blade flickered with a bloody light, emitting an aura of death. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up slightly, and he shouted, "Lightning Fire Sword, whiz!" The War Soul Sword that was inserted into the floor suddenly struggled free, releasing an ear-piercing scream. In the next second, it had already appeared on the demon god's back. The Lightning Fire Sword was fast and unexpected, and Tang Zheng's current move was completely out of the demon god's expectations. The demon god wanted to dodge, but it was too late. His expression suddenly changed as he roared, "Tang Zheng, I will kill you." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The blood blade soared into the sky and floated above his head, sprinkling down a bloody light that completely wrapped him up. Clang! The War Soul Sword slashed onto the blood light, causing it to tremble. In the end, with a kacha sound, the blood light shattered into pieces, causing the demon god to stagger and almost fall to the ground. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the demon god suffered such a huge loss. His face was ashen, like a malicious spirit, and the anger in his eyes seemed to be about to spew out. Roar! The demon god roared as his body expanded. In the blink of an eye, he grew to 3 meters tall, like a giant. His entire body was shrouded in a layer of withering blood. Tang Zheng had never seen him transform like this before and could not help but be flabbergasted. But what was more direct was the powerful aura. The demon god did not use the blood blade to attack again. Instead, he grabbed the War Soul Sword with his big hand. Tang Zheng, I'll destroy your sword first. Let's see how you can still use the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. The demon god shouted as he struck the War Soul Sword with his palm. Wong! The War Soul Sword trembled violently and let out a miserable cry. Tang Zheng had a special connection with the War Soul Sword, so he immediately felt what the War Soul Sword was going through. The War Soul Sword was already damaged, so if the demon god continued, it would probably be like the dragon trapping rope, directly crippled. As Li Xiaotian and Lewis fought, they also clearly saw the battle between the two of them. They were all deeply shocked, especially Li Xiaotian. She knew very well that Tang Zheng's strength was not as good as hers, but now, the strength that Tang Zheng had displayed had completely surpassed her. Isn't this cultivation speed too fast? Lewis's forehead wrinkled into a Chuan character, realizing that he had still underestimated Tang Zheng. The demon god laughed complacently. Take another palm of mine. The iron palm descended, striking straight at the War Soul Sword. With this palm, the War Soul Sword would definitely be crippled. Stop! Tang Zheng shouted loudly. The heaven-shocking bow was already in his hands. He pulled the bowstring, Wong. His fingers loosened, and a formless arrow shot towards the demon god. Tang Zheng instantly realized that the power of this arrow was much stronger than before. It was obvious that the stronger his cultivation was, the more powerful the arrow shot out by the heaven-shocking bow would be. When the demon god saw the heaven-shocking bow, he immediately thought of the scene where he was struck by the heaven-shocking bow's arrow in the valley, causing his body to explode and he almost died. The demon god immediately dodged, and with a boom, the formless arrow hit the wall, and with a boom, half of the wall collapsed. After the war's soul sword escaped, Tang Zheng waved his hand, and it flew back into his sumeru bag. When Li Xiaotian saw the heaven-shocking bow, his eyes lit up and he shouted, "Tang Zheng, I knew that the heaven-shocking bow was in your hands, and I was right. Let's see how you can quibble now. I really didn't expect this bow to be able to shoot without arrows." Heaven-shocking bow. This is the heaven-shocking bow? When the demon god heard this name, his face turned pale with fright. His eyes stared straight at the heaven-shocking bow, emitting a greedy light. "You know about the heaven-shocking bow?" Tang Zheng was extremely surprised. Back then, even Tian Chanzi was not clear about the heaven-shocking bow's name, and the demon god did not recognize the heaven-shocking bow either. However, when he heard the name, he actually had such a huge reaction, so he definitely knew about the heaven-shocking bow. To be honest, Tang Zheng was also very curious about the origins of the heaven-shocking bow. This divine bow was truly too miraculous. No wonder this divine bow's power is so extraordinary. It's actually the weapon of the ancient era's martial monarch, Hou-Yi. Back then, Hou-Yi used the heaven-shocking bow to shoot down the golden crow and save the world from water and fire. The demon god was still immersed in great shock. Hou-Yi used this heaven-shocking bow to shoot down the sun? Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian were both shocked. The legend of Hou-Yi shooting down the sun had been passed down for a long time, and it was said that there were 10 suns in the sky in the ancient era, and these suns were all transformed from golden crows. People could not withstand the high temperature, and in the end, a warrior, Hou-Yi, shot down 9 golden crows that transformed into suns, saving the common people. It was just that there was no introduction to the sun-shooting weapon in the legends. He never thought that it would actually be this heaven-shocking bow. Tang Zheng could not help but caress the heaven-shocking bow, as if he could still travel through time and space, and feel that soul-stirring period. "Tang Zheng, where did you get this heaven-shocking bow?" The demon god's eyes turned cold. The heaven-shocking bow had been lost for who knows how many years. He never thought that it would appear in the hands of this young man. "How could I possibly tell you such a huge secret?" Tang Zheng said. Since the heaven-shocking bow was so extraordinary, then the prehistoric heavenly tomb was even more mysterious. He definitely could not tell the other party. "If you don't want to say it, then go to hell. I must obtain the heaven-shocking bow." Let me tell you, Tang Zheng, back then, the martial empress used 2 weapons to shoot the sun. Other than the heaven-shocking bow, there are also the sun-shooting arrows. Once I gather these 2 weapons, my strength will increase explosively. Haha, you gave me such good news before you died. I really have to thank you. The demon god laughed. "The heaven-shocking bow is mine. No one can touch it." Li Xiaotian shouted loudly. He immediately gave up on Louis and rushed to Tang Zheng's side, looking at the heaven-shocking bow with covetous eyes, but did not immediately snatch it away. "Tang Zheng, let's see how you're going to act shamelessly now." "Humph." Li Xiaotian clenched his teeth and said, "Let's deal with these people first." Tang Zheng said, "Hee, the 2 of you are courting death, then I'll fulfill your wish. I must obtain the heaven-shocking bow. Go and die." The demon god roared. A gust of wind blew around his body, and the blood mist immediately spread out. "Be careful of this blood mist," Tang Zheng reminded. Li Xiaotian immediately held his breath, while Louis and Wales immediately retreated to the door of the room, avoiding the blood mist. "Haha, little girl, you're not a cultivator, and you want to avoid my devil blood soul devouring technique? Dream on." The demon god laughed complacently. Chapter 389. What's wrong with me? Li Xiaotian cried out in alarm. "Don't move. You've been struck by his demon blood soul devouring technique. In the end, your soul will scatter and you will die." Tang Zheng stopped her. "My soul will scatter? Li Xiaotian was the holy maiden of Li Palace, but she was also a person who was afraid of death. She immediately shouted, "Tangzheng, save me!" Haha, let's see how you save her. The demon god waved his blood blade, causing it to shine brightly. In an instant, it turned from a small dagger into a large blade, slashing towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng shot out 3 arrows in a row. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The invisible arrows shot out in a triangle shape. Clang, clang, clang. The demon god waved his blood blade and blocked the 3 arrows in a row. The light on the blood blade swayed incessantly, as if it could collapse at any time. Haha, Tang Zheng, I've already recovered 90% of my power. How could you possibly be my match? The demon god said proudly. Tang Zheng was overwhelmed with shock. Previously, he could still rely on the power of the heaven-shocking bow to force the demon god to retreat. But now that the demon god had recovered 90% of his power, he was already a little overwhelmed. Then what is your cultivation level? Tang Zheng asked. There's no harm in telling you. Gold Core Stage 7. When I recover all of my power, I will reach Gold Core Stage 9. Then, I will be invincible, ha ha ha. The demon god was actually a 7th stage Gold Core, and after Tian Chanzi returned to the sun, he was only a 5th stage Gold Core. Didn't that mean that he was even stronger than Tian Chanzi now? As for himself, he was only at the 2nd level of Anidia, far from the 7th level of Gold Core. No matter how powerful the heaven-shocking bow was, it would not be able to make up for this gap. Tang Zheng immediately understood this point and felt bitter in his heart. He did not know how many warriors Long Tengyu had found for him to recover his cultivation so quickly. Let's retreat. There's no way we can win this battle. Tang Zheng had the thought of retreating. Even though it was very dangerous for him to reveal his identity, he had no way of getting rid of everyone present in order to prevent future troubles. It could only be said that the weather was unpredictable. Man proposes, but God disposes. He didn't expect that this time he would discover a huge conspiracy, but it also caused him to fall into a huge trouble. My cultivation must make a huge leap in this trip to the 100,000 mountains. Only then can I guarantee my safety when I return to the secular world. Tang Zheng made up his mind and hugged Li Xiaotian. With her soft body in his arms, the two of them quickly retreated. You want to escape? In your dreams, leave behind your life and the heaven-shocking bow. The demon god waved his blood blade and chased after him fiercely. Boom! Tang Zheng slammed his palm on the wall behind him. His zhenqi pulsated, and with a rumbling sound, stone chips flew everywhere. The wall seemed to have cracked, and a huge crack appeared on it. Boom! The load-bearing wall of the villa collapsed, and the villa was unable to support itself. It collapsed with a loud bang, and a huge ruin fell from the sky and landed in front of the demon god, blocking his line of sight. The demon god was furious and shouted for him not to run, but the entire villa collapsed in an instant. He had no way to stop it, let alone chase after Tang Zheng. A huge rock fell from the sky and smashed towards the demon god's head. The demon god immediately waved his blood blade in the air, Kacha. The debris above his head all dodged, and with a tap of his foot, he soared into the sky. Boom! The entire villa instantly turned into ruins, and only 3 people were still standing. They were the demon god, Lewis and Wales. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian were nowhere to be found. Damn it, they actually escaped. The demon god was furious. He was unwilling to give up. He turned his gaze and immediately locked onto Lewis and the other 2, and said, "Why aren't you guys leaving?" Lewis said calmly, "I am going to cooperate with you. How can I leave?" "Brat, I don't know what you're planning, but I want to tell you, if you play tricks in front of me, you will die miserably." The demon god threatened. "Demon god, when did I ever play tricks with you? I sincerely want to cooperate with you and create a new world." Lewis said solemnly, "Humph, to create a new world, you should wait until I deal with that stinking brat Tang Zheng and obtain the heaven-shocking bow." The demon god said. Lewis said proudly, "Demon god, why would you need to do anything to deal with him? Since his identity has been exposed, there will be countless people who will deal with him. It would be better for us to hurry up and set up the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array." What do you know? Oomph. The demon god said unhappily. Lewis was not clear about the demon god's thoughts. It was true that the demon god wanted the demon clan to descend into this world, but compared to this grand goal, he wanted to obtain the heaven-shocking bow more. The heaven-shocking bow was simply too powerful. With the heaven-shocking bow and then finding the shooting sun arrows, even if he was only at the 9th stage of the Jindan stage, he would be able to contend against the experts of the Yuanying stage. The demon god knew very well that when the demon clan descended on a large scale in the future, there would be more and more experts in this world. As for him, he would be submerged in the vast sea of people and become extremely ordinary. He had to seize this opportunity to make himself as strong as possible. Lewis was taught a lesson, but he was not angry, because with Long Tengyu dead, the demon god could only cooperate with him if he wanted to set up the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array. Demon god, what should we do next? Find Tangjung for me. We must find him. The demon god said firmly. Yes, he won't be able to fly even if he has wings. Lewis was full of confidence and thought to himself, Tangjung, I didn't expect you to be a cultivator. I believe that the martial sect will definitely be interested in this news. Haha, as long as you die, sure will be mine. Not long after, an explosive piece of news came out from Dianan. Long Tengyu was killed, and it was at his own residence. In the end, even the house was turned into ruins, causing people to guess that it was as if it had been attacked by a bomb. Long Xinyuan stood at the edge of the ruins, looking at his subordinates busily cleaning up the ruins. His face was extremely gloomy. During this period of time, the Long family had encountered too many unforeseen events, showing that Mu Hongyan had colluded with the people of the island nation to betray the interests of the family. When Long Xinyuan first received this news, he was extremely shocked and furious. Mu Hongyan was expelled from the Long family, and Long Xinyuan handed over most of the family business to Long Tengyu to manage. However, he did not expect that in just a few days, Long Tengyu would actually be killed. Master, young master has been found. His subordinate suddenly shouted, and a few people carried out Long Tengyu, who was buried in the ruins. Long Xinyuan looked at his son's corpse, and his eyes immediately turned red, but they were instantly replaced by an overwhelming killing intent. Do you know who did it? Long Xinyuan asked. The information shows that a great battle happened here, and young master died at the hands of a person called Tangjung. In addition, there are a few people who are also related to this matter. His subordinate reported. The Long family was definitely the local tyrant of Dianan. Although almost everyone on the scene was dead, the Long family had figured out a little of the truth. Tangjung? Long Xinyuan frowned. This person's name was too familiar. Why is he in Dianan? I don't know. Tengyu was really killed by him? Yes. Find him. I want him to be buried with Tengyu, Long Xinyuan said with killing intent. At the same time, the two elders received a mysterious message. Tangjung was a cultivator, and he was the mysterious cultivator who appeared when the demon god descended. This news was too explosive. The three of them immediately went south and chased after him. Furthermore, Marshall had a secret mission, which was to find the person who wore the jade pendant. She did not expect that after brushing past him so many times, the other party had always been by her side. They also immediately confirmed that the third elder had most likely fallen into the hands of Tangjung. Therefore, new and old grudges were added together, and they had to catch Tangjung. Tangjung returned to the hotel with Li Xiaotian, who had fallen into a coma, and happened to see Lu Ming. Lu Ming was dumbfounded as he watched Tangjung enter the room with a stunning beauty in his arms. Suddenly, he was shocked, angry, and happy. This time, he finally caught your pigtail again. Let's see how Professor Qi will protect you this time. Just as Tangjung placed Li Xiaotian on the bed, Lu Ming rushed in and shouted righteously, Tangjung, you beast, what are you doing? Before Tangjung could reply, a white shadow pounced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was so scared that he screamed and hurriedly retreated, knocking into the door and letting out a pitiful cry. He was battered and exhausted. This white shadow was of course Xiaobai. Previously, Tangjing and Li Xiaotian went out to investigate the whereabouts of Lewis. Because they were worried that it would run around and expose its whereabouts, they locked it in the room. At this moment, seeing Lu Mingqiao roar at Tang Zheng, and especially making things difficult for it at the airport, the new hatred added together. So of course it would be angry. Even if Xiaobai did not spit fire, it was still very aggressive. It slammed into Lu Ming's stomach, and immediately, Lu Ming flew out of the room like a kite with a broken string, hitting the wall and fainting. Xiaobai bared his teeth and called out proudly. He walked with his feet splayed out and swayed at the door a few times. Seeing that the other party was not moving, he closed the door. Tang Zheng was not in the mood to pay attention to Lu Ming, because Li Xiaoyan's situation was not optimistic. After the demon god's strength increased, the power of the demon blood soul devouring technique was not the same as before, and it actually caused Li Xiaotian to faint. Tang Zheng could feel a strange power swimming in her body. If it was not restrained, then she would most likely be in trouble. Originally, Tang Zheng wanted nothing more than to kill this burden, but now that things had come to a head, he was a little hesitant. Today was different from the past. His identity as a cultivator had been exposed, and the danger he would face in the future would be even greater. And Li Xiaoyan's death would not benefit him in any way. Moreover, the two of them were at least companions, so it was not his style to leave him in the lurch. He glanced at the unconscious Li Xiaotian and muttered to himself, "You're lucky. I'll be merciful and save you this time." Tang Zheng cast a spell to heal Li Xiaotian, but there was a commotion outside the door. A member of the archaeological team discovered Lu Ming, and Lu Ming also woke up. Immediately, he flew into a rage. He was actually bullied by Tang Zheng and his pet. This was truly a great humiliation. This was definitely a good opportunity to establish his might. He had to take this opportunity to kick this person out of the archaeological team and make Professor Qi speechless. Chapter 390. Outside the door, Qi Shaowen and the rest of the archaeological team had gathered. Lu Ming was indignantly complaining about Tang Zheng's beastly behavior. "This man is a disgrace to our archaeological team. How dare he carry a girl home with ill intentions? This is against the law and tarnishing the reputation of our archaeological team. This cannot be tolerated." Qi Shaowen frowned. He knew Tang Zheng well enough to know that he had no shortage of beautiful women around him. It was said that many of them were pursuing him. How could he do something so ridiculous? "Leader Lu, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want," Qi Shaowen said in a low voice. Lu Ming said indignantly, "Professor Qi, do you think I'm lying? Of course, we are very clear about your character, but your disciple is not like you. As for whether I'm lying or not, we'll know soon enough." As they spoke, Lu Ming saw that the person he sent to call the hotel manager had returned. The manager was with him. "Sir, someone is doing something bad to a girl in here. Open the door quickly, or something big is going to happen," Lu Ming said. The hotel manager did not hesitate. He immediately took out his spare card and swiped it to open the door. Bang! Lu Ming took the lead and rushed in without a care for his own safety. He thought to himself, "Kid, this infinity, you're dead meat now. We've got solid evidence of your crime. Let's see how you're going to deny it." The others rushed in as well. How could they miss out on such a big piece of gossip? Qi Shaowen was fuming with rage. He rushed to the front of the group as well. He wanted to see if his disciple was as bad as Lu Ming had said he was. In an instant, this small room was filled with people. It was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Everyone stretched their necks and looked at the bed, hoping to see a scene of sex. However, when they saw it clearly, everyone was stunned. There was no sex scene. The two of them were sitting upright on the chairs beside the bed, looking curiously at the group of people who rushed in. Tang Zheng's lips curled into a faint sneer. He had already helped Li Xiaotian dispel the strange power in her body. Her face was a little pale, but she was fine. Tang Zheng's ears were sharp, so of course he heard the quarrel outside the door. He immediately guessed Lu Ming's sinister intentions, so after he cured Li Xiaotian, he didn't rush out to refute the rumors. Instead, he sat upright on the chair, waiting for this group of people to come in and watch a good show. Lu Ming looked at the two people who were sitting upright in disbelief. Wasn't that beauty already unconscious? And Tang Zheng looked like an impatient pervert. How come nothing happened between the two of them in the blink of an eye? Tang Zheng looked at Lu Ming mockingly and pretended not to know anything. Hey, why did so many of you rush in? Shua. Everyone's eyes focused on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face flushed red. He clenched his teeth and braced himself to ask, Tang Zheng, you just carried this girl in. Are you going to do something bad? Oh, I'm going to do something bad? Which eye of yours saw me do something bad? Tang Zheng slowly stood up and asked with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Both of my eyes saw it. Don't tell me you still want to deny it? Miss, you don't have to be afraid. Today, so many of us are here to help you. We should expose the sinister face of this kind of person. Lu Ming urged Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian also stood up. How could someone as smart as her not know what was going on? She immediately smiled and said, You're here to save me? Yes, I'm here to save you. Miss, quickly come over. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Seeing that Li Xiaotian was a little moved, he hurriedly said, I'll protect you. No one can hurt you. He was overjoyed. If he could win the girl's favor and have a romantic relationship with such a beauty, it would be a wonderful thing in life. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw this scene. Qi Shaowen especially cared about Tang Zheng. He asked, Tang Zheng, tell me the truth. Did you do anything wrong to her? Qi Shaowen knew Li Xiaotian. She was the one who pointed out the authenticity of the painting of the 9 heavens. How could Qi Shaowen forget? In fact, when he saw that Tang Zheng was with Li Xiaotian, he was not so worried. Tang Zheng smiled and said, Leader Lu, didn't you say that I did? Yes, you did. I saw it all. Don't deny it. Lu Ming said solemnly. Then he turned to Li Xiaotian and urged, Miss, tell me. I'll make the decision for you. Li Xiaotian had already arrived in front of Lu Ming. A burst of fragrant wind assaulted his face. Lu Ming was fascinated. He had never been so close to such a beautiful woman. His throat couldn't help but dry up. Everyone looked at Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian's face gradually darkened. It was as if a storm was coming. Slap. Suddenly, there was a loud slap. Lu Ming spun like a top and almost fell to the ground. He was in a sorry state, and there were a few fingerprints on his face. You're the miss. Your whole family are misses. You brought so many people and swore that Tang Zheng did something to me. Are you trying to ruin my reputation? You're lucky that I didn't beat you to death. Get lost. Li Xiaotian shouted angrily. The beauty changed her face faster than the weather. The audience was stunned. What was going on? Why did she hit Lu Ming? Lu Ming was also stunned. His beautiful fantasy was immediately shattered. He felt a burning pain on his face. He felt that he had lost all his face. Why did you hit me? I hit you. I'm friends with Tang Zheng. You slandered me and him. If I don't hit you, who should I hit? Li Xiaotian raised her hand and was about to hit him again. Lu Ming quickly stepped back and dodged the slap. He was in a daze. The audience suddenly realized that all of this was made up out of nothing by Lu Ming. The others were friends, and there was no such thing as a mess. And he deliberately slandered Tang Zheng. His heart was too narrow-minded. Everyone thought of the incident at the airport. They guessed that Lu Ming was deliberately making trouble to ruin Tang Zheng's reputation. That was too despicable. Qi Shaowen heaved a sigh of relief. However, he was also angry. Lu Ming repeatedly made things difficult for Tang Zheng. That was the same as making things difficult for him. If a tiger doesn't show its power, do you think I'm a sick cat? Qi Shaowen said in a deep voice, Leader Lu, you're making trouble out of nothing and ruining someone else's reputation. What are you up to? I seriously doubt that the archaeology team can achieve good results under your leadership. Facing Qi Shaowen's questioning, Lu Ming panicked. He hurriedly explained, Professor Qi, this is all a misunderstanding. I must have been seeing things. I must have been seeing things. He reacted quickly. He no longer cared about Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian. He wanted to appease Qi Shaowen's anger. Seeing things? I'm so old, but I'm not seeing things. You're so young, but you're seeing things. Humph, you're really something, Qi Shaowen said sarcastically. Lu Ming nodded quickly. Professor Qi, you're old but vigorous. How can I be compared to you? Don't worry, there won't be a next time. Everyone, please leave. Don't disturb Tang Zheng. After saying that, he took the lead and walked out quickly, running away with his tail between his legs. Phew, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally escaped from the archaeology team. He waved at one of the soldiers and ordered, "Keep an eye on Tang Zheng. Report to me immediately if he does anything." These soldiers were all under his command. He had the right to order them around. "Tang Zheng, wait until we enter the 10,000 huge mountains tomorrow. I want to see how you can be so arrogant. I will return it to you 1,000 times over and let you know the serious consequences of offending me." And that woman, she actually dared to hit me. Since I was young, no one has ever dared to hit me. No matter who you are, you're finished. Lu Ming's eyes seemed to be able to spit fire as he gnashed his teeth and muttered to himself. Only Tang Zheng, Li Xiaotian, and Qi Shaowen were left in Tang Zheng's room. "Professor Qi, I'm sorry to have made you worry," said Tang Zheng. Qi Shaowen waved his hand and said, "It's all Lu Ming's fault. He's narrow-minded. It seems that it was a huge mistake for the higher-ups to send him to lead the team." After a pause, he asked Li Xiaotian, "Why are you in Dianan?" "I have something to do." Qi Shaowen already knew that she was not a student of Yinqing University. It was inappropriate for him to ask more questions. He nodded and said, "I'll leave first. We'll enter the 100,000 hills tomorrow. Tang Zheng, you should rest early." Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up when she heard that. However, a trace of suspicion flashed across her eyes. After Qi Shaowen left, she quickly asked, "You're going to enter the 100,000 hills?" "Yes." "What for?" "Archaeology. Didn't you see such a large archaeology team? Did someone discover the primitive heavenly tomb?" Li Xiaotian asked curiously. "How is that possible?" "It's just routine archaeology," Tang Zheng said perfunctorily. You must be hiding something from me, right?" Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Zheng said sternly, "How is that possible? Don't let your imagination run wild." Li Xiaotian stared at him with a burning gaze. His heart moved. Tang Zheng's mouth was harder than granite. It was easier said than done to pry open his mouth. "It's fine if you don't say it. I naturally have a way to find out what you guys are up to. Tang Zheng, can you return the heaven-shocking bow to me now?" Li Xiaotian extended his hand and said with a smile that was not a smile, "Look for it. If you find it, it's yours." Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders. Of course he would not give it to the other party. Now that he understood the power of the heaven-shocking bow, how could he give it away? "You. Shameless, I saw it with my own eyes. The heaven-shocking bow is in your hands. Do you still want to deny it?" Li Xiaotian was furious. "I'm not denying it. If you have the ability, then find it. Otherwise, it means that this thing is not fated with you, so don't force it. What's more, I just saved your life. Is this how you repay your savior? Shouldn't you repay the favor of saving your life with your body?" Tang Zheng said in ridicule. "Promise your head." Li Xiaotian opened her eyes wide in anger, gasping for breath, thinking that he was really the one who saved her just now. It would be a bit unrighteous to turn hostile like this, and the other party was a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. She could not do anything to him. Chapter 391. Li Xiaotian compromised and no longer pursued the matter of the heaven-shocking bow and said, "Tang Zheng, your identity as a cultivator has already been exposed. Aren't you afraid?" "What's the use of being afraid?" Tang Zheng asked back. Yes, I'm afraid it won't solve the problem. Moreover, the demon god has such a huge plan, and cultivators will step onto the stage sooner or later. At that time, everyone will know of your existence, and the martial sect will not have the time to deal with you." Li Xiaotian laughed. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he said, "That's right. Since the martial sect hates cultivators to the bones, then we should tell them the whereabouts of the demon god, and let them bite each other to see who will survive in the end. I'll leave the task of passing the message to you." "You're really smart. Now that the demon god is entangled with the martial sect, he won't have the time to pay attention to you." Tang Zheng did not comment, but he knew in his heart that this was not the case. The demon god was already at the 7th stage of the gold core stage, which was equivalent to the 7th stage of the great master stage. In this world, there were probably people who could match him, and even the martial great master stage would not be able to do so. However, this was not his main focus. His top priority right now was to enter the 10,000 huge mountains. As long as he entered the 10,000 huge mountains, even if the demon god and the martial sect wanted to deal with him, it would not be an easy task. What are your plans next? Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, soldiers will block, water will cover the earth. All right, then I'll wait and see. I'll be leaving first. Li Xiaotian waved his hand and left. Early in the morning, the archaeological team was ready to set off, and the large group directly headed towards the 10,000 huge mountains. When they left the city, a group of people came to the hotel they were staying at and immediately checked Tang Zheng's check-in records. However, it was still too late. When the news reached the Long family, Long Xinyuan flew into a rage and immediately sent a group of people to chase after the archaeological team. If he let the other party escape in Dianan's territory, then would he, Long Xinyuan, still have face? At the same time, the demon god and Lewis also received news of Tang Zheng's archaeological team's movements. Both of them were very surprised, not knowing why they were going to the vast 10,000 mountains. Coincidentally, Sawada Ichiro had returned. Sawada Ichiro had originally come for his junior brother Yamamoto, so he had been tracking down Yamamoto's whereabouts for the past few days. In the end, he confirmed that he had also entered the 10,000 huge mountains. He was not clear about Yamamoto's true purpose, but since Yamamoto dared to take such a huge risk to enter the 10,000 huge mountains, then there must be something extremely important. The results of Lewis's investigation had also come out. It was said that this time, because of the discovery of the 4 stone monuments, the archaeological team had mobilized so many people and entered the 100,000 mountains regardless of the danger. Hearing that, Sawada Ichiro immediately guessed that Yamamoto was probably going to the ancient ruins, and the demon god was even more interested in the ancient ruins, so he wanted to go to the 10,000 huge mountains to investigate. Thus, the demon god's group of 4 also quickly entered the Grand Myriad Mountains. When the people from the martial sect arrived in Dianan, they were even a step too late. Their trip was not only for Tang Zheng, but also for the demon god. They were prepared to capture the 2 of them in one fell swoop. As a result, they resolutely entered the 10,000 huge mountains. 3 groups of people entered the 10,000 huge mountains one after another. This mountain that had been silent for countless years gradually became lively, as if it had been awakened. The archaeological team carried a lot of supplies, because everyone knew that this was not a good place. In the past, it had swallowed countless lives. The scorching sun was high in the sky, and the trees covered the sky, blocking most of the sunlight. Although it was winter, the mountains were still a little stuffy. There were no roads in the mountains, so these people could only walk. Fortunately, most of the people in the archaeological field had good physical fitness, so no one complained about being tired after crossing the mountains. Even Qi Shaowen, who was already old, did not drag them down. However, there were always exceptions to everything, and Lu Ming was an exception. After crossing a hill, he was so tired that he called for a stop, saying that he would rest first before continuing. He was sweating profusely, as if he was about to collapse. Everyone knew that he must be used to sitting in the office all the time, so his physical fitness was terrible. Otherwise, he would not be so weak. They had no choice but to rest. A few soldiers stood guard outside the perimeter, while the others sat around drinking water and resting. Lu Ming let out a long sigh and asked, "How much longer will it take for us to arrive?" "Based on our current progress, it should take another 4 days to arrive," someone answered. "That's so far away. If we had known, we would have taken a helicopter. We wouldn't have to go through so much trouble," Lu Ming complained, obviously dissatisfied with the walking. "Take a helicopter?" "Humph." Qi Shaowen smiled meaningfully, then closed his eyes to rest. The others also looked at Lu Ming with strange smiles. Tang Zheng was puzzled, not knowing why everyone had such a reaction. Lu Ming's suggestion was indeed a good idea. Lu Ming also felt the strange atmosphere, so he asked, "Is there a problem with my plan?" "Of course there's a problem. Don't you know that a plane crashed here a few years ago?" Someone said. "What's wrong with that?" "Of course there's a problem. Let me tell you, the 100,000 mountains is a no-fly zone. All flying objects will be interfered with here, causing them to crash. This is a lesson learned with blood and tears. Don't you know? Lu Ming's face fell. He did not know about this at all. Seeing that his plan was exposed, he snorted discontentedly and said, "Humph, it's not that bad." It was indeed bad. Many people wanted to explore the vast 100,000 mountains in the past, but when they found that they could not travel on foot, they decided to use helicopters and other flying devices. However, several planes crashed in a row, and countless people died. Only then did everyone realize that this area was too strange. There was some kind of force that interfered with flying devices. This method was not feasible at all. Hearing this, Tang Zheng thought of the restriction. It was most likely caused by that restriction. However, now that the restriction was gone, he did not know if flying devices could fly over this area. Of course, Tang Zheng would not tell anyone this secret. If these people knew that flying devices could fly over this area, it would be a big problem. After resting for half a day, the group restocked on food and set off again. When it was almost dark, they finally found a place to rest. They set up tents and started a fire to cook. Qi Shaowen put his hands on his hips and looked in the direction of their destination. His eyes narrowed slightly. Tang Zheng walked over and asked, "Professor Qi, what are you looking at?" Qi Shaowen said without turning his head, "Tang Zheng, don't you feel that this journey has been too smooth?" Smooth? Tang Zheng was shocked. It was true. When he walked in the 100,000 hills before, he often encountered miasma. However, after walking for a day, he did not encounter any miasma at all. It was really strange. You haven't been to the 100,000 hills before, so you don't know how dangerous it is. For the archaeologists, this place is a place of great danger. Usually, no one comes back. Miasma runs rampant, and swamps are everywhere. Ferocious beasts are unscrupulous. Although we have encountered a few swamps this time, we did not encounter any ferocious beasts or miasma. Don't you think it's strange? Qi Shaowen asked worriedly. Tang Zheng thought about it and agreed. However, he could not explain it. He could only comfort Qi Shaowen by saying, "We should be glad that we didn't encounter any miasma. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble." Qi Shaowen nodded, and his expression relaxed a little. He said, "Tang Zheng, I put you in danger by bringing you here. Please don't blame me." "Haha, why would I blame you? This is a rare opportunity. I couldn't ask for more," Tang Zheng said. Qi Shaowen patted him on the shoulder with relief. It was late at night, and most people had gone to bed. Only a few groups of soldiers took turns to stand guard. Tang Zheng fell asleep in a daze. Suddenly, he felt something on his face. He opened his eyes and found that Xiao Bai had woken up and was winking at him. "Xiao Bai, what's wrong?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. Xiao Bai squeaked and pointed outside the tent. Tang Zheng thought about it and quickly hugged him in his arms. He said, "They're here?" Xiao Bai nodded. "Well, let's go." Tang Zheng left the tent quietly. His figure flashed, and like a shadow, he drifted past the patrolling soldiers and swept into the distance without alerting anyone. Whoosh! Tang Zheng stopped in front of a big tree. Two figures immediately flashed out from behind the big tree and called out in a low voice, "Lord Envoy, you're back?" These two people were the Witch Clan elder and Yi Yuan. Back then, when Tang Zheng sent Yi Yuan back to the Witch Clan, he had made preparations beforehand. The people of the Witch Clan must have discovered the whereabouts of this archaeological team and discovered that he was among them, which was why they took advantage of the night to come and see him. Under the moonlight, the elder looked at Tang Zheng excitedly and wanted to kowtow to him, but was stopped by Tang Zheng. "Elder, there's no need to do this. How are the preparations for the things I told you to prepare?" This time, no matter what, he could not let this group of people reach the Witch Clan's base camp. Otherwise, the Witch Clan would really be exposed. "Lord Envoy, don't worry. I've already prepared a huge illusion array. These people will definitely not be able to get close to our tribe," the elder vowed. Tang Zheng nodded in satisfaction. "Elder, thank you for your hard work. Are our clansmen all right?" "The clansmen are all fine, but the family misses Lord Envoy. Furthermore, Yuan came back and told us about the outside world. I didn't expect the outside world to have already become like this." The elder sighed. "This time, I will bring another group of clansmen to leave and adapt to life outside. In the future, our witch clan will walk out of this mountain. This was a countermeasure that Tang Zheng had thought of earlier. It was impossible for the witch clan to live in seclusion here forever. This was a power with limitless potential, and he would face an even greater crisis in the future. He had to have this power that he could trust in his hands. We have been waiting for that day for a long time. Our witch clan has been trapped here for who knows how many years. This time, thanks to Lord Envoy, we were able to walk out. Before he could finish his words, a gunshot broke the silence of the night. Chapter 392. In the quiet night, this gunshot was exceptionally sudden, causing people's nerves to jump. Tang Zheng immediately turned his head and looked in the direction of the camp. He exclaimed in a low voice, "Is the witch tribe going to attack tonight?" The elder and Yi Yuan were at a loss. "No, without Lord Envoy's orders, we will not move. How many single nests are there?" "Oh no, something must have happened." Tang Zheng could already hear the commotion. "Don't come near. I'll go and see what's going on first." Tang Zheng rushed towards the camp in a flash. From afar, he could see that the camp was lit up with dazzling lights. There was a hubbub of voices and many screams. "Huh! Why is there a pack of wolves here?" Dozens of tall and ferocious hungry wolves surrounded this group of people with their big round eyes. There was a wolf corpse on the ground. It was obviously killed by the shot just now. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. These wild wolves were just ordinary beasts and not demonic beasts, so they were not a big problem. He quietly appeared behind the wild wolves, and the people in the camp happened to see this scene. They heard Qi Shaowen shout in panic, "Tang Zheng, be careful. These wild wolves are very fierce. Hurry up and hide." Although he had good intentions, his loud roar made many of the wolves notice the human behind them. They bared their teeth, revealing their long fangs. Seeing this, everyone turned pale with fright. This time, Tang Zheng was in trouble, and Lu Ming revealed a smug expression. "Tang Zheng, you brat, you're finished this time." However, Tang Zheng walked straight to the camp as if nothing had happened. It was as if he did not care about the surrounding wolves at all. Roar! Suddenly, a wild wolf pounced at Tang Zheng, its sharp claws and fangs attacking Tang Zheng at the same time. Screams rang out from the crowd. Many people subconsciously closed their eyes, unable to bear to see such a bloody scene. However, Lu Ming's eyes were wide open, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He wanted to see with his own eyes the scene of Tang Zheng being torn apart by the wild wolves. However, it was obvious that he could not do as he wished. A white shadow streaked across the night sky and crashed into the wild wolf. The wild wolf howled as it was sent flying. "It's that little bastard again." Lu Ming immediately recognized the culprit. Wasn't it the Xiao Bai that bumped into him yesterday? This little bastard is actually not afraid of wolves, and with such great strength, what breed of dog is it? Quite a few people saw this miraculous scene, only to see Little White return to Tang Zheng's shoulder, flaunting its might at the pack of wolves. The pack of wolves were enraged. With a howl, all the wolves rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng continued to walk towards the camp as if he was taking a stroll in the park. A white figure flashed as Little White shuttled through the pack of wolves, completely blocking all the beasts, preventing them from getting close to Tang Zheng. Is this still a puppy? It's even more ferocious than the wild wolves. Many people were shocked as they stared blankly at this scene. In an instant, dozens of wild wolves were sent flying. To deal with these ordinary wild beasts, Xiao Bai did not need to spit fire, nor did he need to show his extraordinary momentum to scare them off. Instead, he simply repelled these enemies without any fancy tricks. Tang Zheng walked safely into the camp under everyone's watchful eyes. Then, he called out, "Xiao Bai, come back." With a whoosh, Xiao Bai immediately appeared on his shoulder again, pouting unwillingly, as if it had not played enough. What is it?" Lu Ming asked, dumbfounded. "My pet," Tang Zheng said lightly, then looked at everyone and said, "What's going on?" "We were attacked by wild wolves when we were sleeping. These bastards are really cunning. They even knew to sneak up on us in the dark. If it weren't for the patrols, we would have been wiped out," Qi Shaowen said happily. Then what should we do now? Tang Jing asked. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in unison. Lu Ming's face reddened. What could he do? Although there were many people on his side, the only ones who could really fight were the 20 or so soldiers. Facing such a large pack of wolves, they would not be able to gain much advantage. Tang Jing, isn't that puppy of yours very powerful? Let it fight with the wild wolves and we'll be fine. Lu Ming thought of a plan and said. Tang Jing rolled his eyes. You really have a good idea. You actually want to use Xiaobai. Xiaobai is not as powerful as you say. Aren't you the team leader? You should think of a way to deal with it yourself. Isn't the safety of all of our lives in your hands? Tang Jing said coldly. Since Lu Ming was going against him, he would not help him out of kindness. Anyway, there were so many wild wolves. In fact, with him around, they could not hurt them at all. Lu Ming was checkmated. Anger flashed across his face. Tang Jing, for everyone's safety, are you still going to be so selfish? I'm selfish? When have I been selfish? You're the team leader. Shouldn't you be thinking about everyone's safety? Tang Jing retorted immediately. You. Lu Ming was speechless. Seeing this, Qi Shaowen became the peacemaker. Team leader Lu, we have so many armed soldiers. The wild wolves won't stand a chance. Really? Lu Ming asked anxiously. Qi Shaowen had seen many birds and beasts when he was an archaeologist. Of course, he knew a thing or two about wolves. Therefore, he was not afraid. The wolves had been intimidated by Xiaobai just now. They would not attack for a while. In fact, there was not much danger tonight. Qi Shaowen went into his tent without looking back. Tang Jing followed closely behind and went into his bed. The other archaeologists with rich experience did not understand the key point. Seeing Qi Shaowen so carefree and fearless, they were much younger than him. Therefore, the archaeologists went back into their tents. Lu Ming stood there in a daze. He looked at the ferocious wolves that looked like they would charge at them at any time. His lips were dry, and he was trembling. Team leader Lu, what should we do? Asked a soldier. Lu Ming hesitated for a long time and said, You're asking me what to do? What are you doing? You're here to protect us. Listen, don't let any wild wolves come near. Then, he turned around and went back to his tent. Early in the morning, everyone woke up one after another. Finally, they saw Lu Ming with dark circles under his eyes. It was obvious that he did not sleep at all last night. On the other hand, the archaeologists were in high spirits. Let's move on. Ignore the wolves. Qi Shaowen ordered resolutely. Lu Ming was at his wit's end. He could only agree dejectedly. The wolves had been guarding them for the whole night. They were still ferocious and looked like they would charge at them at any time. Everyone packed their luggage and moved on. Perhaps it was because the wolves were following them. Their speed was much faster. In half a day, they had climbed over a few mountains. The wolves were persistent. During this time, the wolves launched an attack. Under the sound of firecrackers, the wolves' attack was repelled. They could only stay far away. Obviously, the beasts were not willing to let their prey go so easily. However, there was nothing they could do. Suddenly, the wolf pack let out a howl and quickly retreated. The crowd immediately cheered, thinking that the wolf pack had finally given up. However, Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. He looked into the distance and immediately shouted, Miasma! The miasma is coming! Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and a miasma came with the wind. Everyone hurriedly put on their gas masks, but two people didn't have time to put on their masks. After breathing in a mouthful of miasma, they immediately fell to the ground and didn't get up. The crowd immediately screamed in horror. They had walked for a whole day yesterday and did not see the miasma at all. Today, they encountered it after walking for only half a day. Qi Shaowen's face darkened. He was still wondering why they did not encounter the miasma yesterday. Today, they encountered it unexpectedly. Moreover, the miasma was moving so fast that it caught them off guard. Seeing that someone had fallen, Qi Shaowen quickly rushed over to help one of them up. Tang Jing reacted quickly and helped another person up. Let's go. Let's get out of this area. Our masks won't last long, Qi Shaowen shouted. Let's go. The crowd immediately moved. They rushed forward quickly, hoping to get out of this miasma area. Lu Ming felt as if the Grim Reaper had arrived. His legs turned to jelly and he could not walk. Two soldiers carried him forward. Professor Qi, let me do it. Tang Zheng took the team members from Qi Shaowen and supported them on both sides. I'm strong. I can carry 2 people. Professor Qi looked at Tang Zheng with gratification. He then glanced at Lu Ming, who was being carried away by the soldiers. His eyes flashed with contempt. The group of people staggered forward. Many of them had rich archaeological experience, but it was obviously their first time in the 100,000 Hills. They finally saw the ruins of the 100,000 Hills and realized that the rumors were true. This was not a place with good feng shui. As they ran, many people had to abandon the heavy equipment they had brought with them. However, the road seemed to have no end. The miasma was still everywhere. It was as if the entire world was shrouded in miasma. Tang Zheng was shocked. He had encountered miasma before, but it was obvious that he had not encountered such a wide range of miasma. They had been walking for hours, but they still could not get out of the miasma area. If this situation continued, it would not be good. Oh no, the compass is broken. The GPS is not working. Suddenly, someone shouted and pointed at the instrument in his hand. Everyone was shocked. Without these 2 things, they would be lost. The 100,000 Hills was not like the outside world. There was no way to find a way out. Getting lost meant death. Moreover, without these instruments, they would not be able to find the stone statues. Many people's mood had hit rock bottom. They did not expect to be in such a bad situation after only 1 day. Many people subconsciously looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was finally able to walk. Although his expression couldn't be seen through the gas mask, it could be seen from his appearance that he was also out of his wits. If the leader of the archaeological team was like this, there was no hope for them this time. My gas mask is running out of air. Suddenly, someone shouted in panic. Chapter 393. There was no air in the gas mask, which meant that they had to inhale the miasma. After this cry, similar cries could be heard one after the other. Everything went wrong. The atmosphere suddenly became extremely oppressive, as if the god of death was about to descend. What should we do? There's no end to the miasma. Someone shouted in panic. Lu Ming could not do anything. He stared blankly at the crowd. Even the experienced Qi Shaowen was helpless. They did not expect the miasma to be so boundless. Moreover, after losing their way, they were like headless flies. It was very likely that they would go around in circles, let alone get out of this area. Tang Zheng felt the breath of the 2 people he was supporting getting weaker and weaker. His heart sank. The miasma he had encountered before did not have such a large radiation area. He had really miscalculated this time. Although he did not want these people to discover the witch tribe's tribe, he could not watch these people die. So he quickly put the 2 people he was supporting on the ground. When the others saw this, they all stopped. Lu Ming, who was anxious, was furious. He roared, Tang Zheng, why did you stop? Do you want to get everyone killed? They're dying, Tang Zheng said calmly. Lu Ming's body stiffened. He gritted his teeth and said, No, Delta 4. Leave them here. We have to get out of here. Hurry up, don't delay. After saying that, he turned around and rushed forward. Everyone looked at him in disbelief. They did not expect him to abandon his teammates. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. I'm going to stay and save them, Tang Zheng said firmly. Everyone was moved. However, in their opinion, there was no saving them after inhaling so much miasma. Many people had lost their lives like this before. Tang Zheng, are you sure? Qi Shaowen asked anxiously. Let's give it a try. Tang Zheng's uncertain tone made the others even more anxious. Someone shouted, Let's get out of here quickly. Saving our lives is more important. We can't care so much. In an instant, most of the people in the team left. The few people who stayed behind were those who were close to the 2 wounded people, and those who were also running out of air. The soldiers who were supposed to protect the archaeological team obeyed Lu Ming's orders and were forced to move forward. These few people were isolated. At this moment, everyone was no longer thinking about archaeology, but about saving their lives. Some people even started crying. Qi Shaowen did not leave. He looked at Tang Zheng, who was squatting down to treat his team members. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. He thought to himself, I shouldn't have brought him along. I didn't expect this mission to be so dangerous. Professor Chi, what should we do? Asked the others. Without a doubt, Chi Shaowen was the backbone of this isolated army. Chi Shaowen pursed his lips. His lips were dry, but he couldn't say anything. Ah! Suddenly, a scream rang out, scaring the group of people to the point that their faces turned deathly white as they scattered in all directions. What happened? The two team members who had been unconscious woke up, but they were completely exposed to the miasma. Their eyes were wide open, and they were gasping for breath. At this moment, the miasma they breathed in did not seem to affect them at all. It was as if they were breathing normal air. What was going on? A big question mark appeared in everyone's minds. They stared at the two men in disbelief. How did they come back from the dead? We're not dead. That's great. The two men cheered loudly. Then, they turned to look at Tang Zheng. The two men hadn't completely lost consciousness after inhaling the miasma. They knew that Tang Zheng had been helping them the entire time, and that Tang Zheng had saved them at the very last moment. The two were so moved that tears rolled in their eyes as they simultaneously bowed towards Tang Zheng and gratefully said, Tang Zheng, thank you for saving us. We won't say too many words of gratitude. In the future, if there is anything we can do for you, we will do our best to help you. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at Tang Zheng in unison. Chi Shaowen cut to the chase and asked, Tang Zheng, how did you cure them? Tang Zheng produced a porcelain bottle. I have detoxification pills here. Ah, why do you have detoxification pills? This detoxification pill was a secret recipe of the sorcerer tribe. Of course, he had it. However, he couldn't tell anyone about it. So, he said, I have a friend who is quite skilled in medicine. He gave this to me before. He said that it can cure some poisons. I fed it to them in a moment of desperation. I didn't expect it to work. Everyone cheered. They wanted to jump up and down. This was really a silver lining. With this pill, the miasma was no longer a threat. How many detoxification pills do you have? Chi Shaowen asked in surprise. About 10. Tang Zheng said. He didn't prepare many in the first place. However, there were only 10 people left, so it was enough. Everyone thought that those who ran away just now probably didn't expect that they would get the detoxification pills. This was really fate. A single thought had led to such a big change. However, no one blamed Tang Zheng for not taking it out earlier. He didn't know that it could cure the miasma. Besides, if he had taken it out earlier, it wouldn't have been enough for 40 people. Now, it had benefited everyone. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng with a different gaze, and they all revealed looks of gratitude. After taking off their gas masks and taking the detoxification pills, everyone felt as if they had been reborn. Let's go catch up with the rest of the group. There are still a few detoxification pills left. We can save a few more people, Chi Shaowen said eagerly. However, they couldn't see far in the miasma. Those people had left for a while, and they were nowhere to be found. After searching for a long time, they still couldn't find any trace of them. They couldn't help but feel helpless. Moreover, the miasma was boundless, and there was no direction to follow. The key was how to get out of this area. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng subconsciously. Obviously, after the detoxification pills, Tang Zheng's status in their hearts had risen. Tang Zheng, which direction do you think we should go? Chi Shaowen asked. He had pointed in the wrong direction just now, so he put his hope on Tang Zheng. Before Tang Zheng could answer, Xiaobai jumped down from Tang Zheng's shoulder. It pointed in a direction with its paw and squeaked. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. Xiaobai was the holy beast of the sorcerer tribe. It had many miraculous abilities. Maybe it could really lead everyone out of this area. Let's follow Xiaobai, Tang Zheng said. Everyone looked at Xiaobai in surprise. Seeing that everyone was looking at it, Xiaobai raised its little head proudly. It can lead us out of here? Some people couldn't believe it. Xiaobai was just a puppy in everyone's eyes. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, it wasn't affected by the miasma at all. That's right. Everyone only paid attention to people and ignored this little guy. The miasma didn't affect it at all. Everyone murmured in their hearts. They looked at Xiaobai in disbelief. They couldn't help but believe it a little. Moreover, they had no choice but to give it a try. Xiaobai led the way, and everyone moved forward quickly. After a while, they came to the edge of a swamp. Looking at the swamp that swallowed people, everyone looked at each other in confusion. There was no way out. Xiaobai pointed at the opposite side of the swamp and gestured. Tang Zheng understood it and said, "We'll be safe after we cross the swamp." Everyone suddenly realized that the swamp was the way out. They had passed by the swamp just now, but no one had suggested crossing it. "The inflatable boat isn't with us. They took it away." A loud shout made everyone's mood drop. The archaeological team had expected to cross the swamp, but most of the supplies were carried by the soldiers. The inflatable boat was one of them. However, the soldiers were taken away by Lu Ming. They couldn't swim across the swamp, could they? That would be suicide. How are we going to cross without the inflatable boat? Someone looked desperate. They didn't expect to fall into a hopeless situation again when there was hope for survival. "I have an idea. Everyone, please wait for a moment." Tang Zheng took a machete from someone and immediately found a small tree to chop. With just a few slashes, a small tree was cut down. Soon, dozens of small trees were lying on the ground. "You're going to make a raft?" Qi Shaowen asked in surprise when he saw the clue. "Yes, we can cross with a raft." The archaeological team members were all very capable. With the hope of survival, they immediately worked together. Not long after, a sturdy wooden raft was built. "Let's go," Tang Zheng said loudly. "Wait." Qi Shaowen paused, found a piece of paper, and wrote something on it. He then pasted it on a tree trunk. "They're our teammates after all. Although we can't find them for now, if they find this place and discover the clues we left behind, they'll be able to make a raft and leave this area." Qi Shaowen was a kind person. Although he was abandoned by those people, he still didn't give up on them. Tang Zheng pushed the raft. The raft carried everyone and quickly moved to the other side of the swamp. The swamp was very vast. They couldn't see the end of it. It was like a small sea. Tang Zheng's martial arts were profound. Even though he was holding the boat by himself, he was still like an arrow leaving a bow. After an unknown period of time, the miasma gradually dissipated. Immediately, cheers thundered. "We are finally out. We are saved." Qi Shaowen heaved a sigh of relief. He patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and said, "Tang Zheng, it's all thanks to you that we're able to escape from death." "Thank you." Tang Zheng flashed a bright smile. "We're all team members. This is what I should do." Qi Shaowen nodded in relief. He had made the right choice in taking in such a disciple. It was a wise decision to bring him along this time. The raft reached the shore. Everyone quickly went ashore and breathed in the fresh air again. It was wonderful. Everyone's faces were full of smiles. "Tang Zheng, how do we go now?" someone asked. Before they knew it, Tang Zheng had become the backbone of this team. Qi Shaowen looked at Tang Zheng curiously. He was obviously asking for his opinion. Bang! Suddenly, there was a loud bang. One of the team members fell to the ground. Chapter 394. The sound was so loud that Tang Zheng immediately recognized it as a gunshot. How could there be a gunshot? He did not have time to think, because one of the team members had fallen to the ground and was bleeding profusely. His head was tilted to the side. "We're under attack. Everyone, get down and be careful of the bullets," Tang Zheng yelled. In an instant, everyone fell to the ground in a panic. They had just escaped the wolf's den and entered the tiger's den. Most importantly, who else would have a gun in the wilderness other than the archaeological team? Bang, bang, bang. A barrage of bullets came at them like a storm. Many trees were riddled with holes, but Tang Zheng did not lie down. Instead, he leaped out like a leopard. Seeing this, Qi Shaowen panicked and shouted, "Tang Zheng, where are you going? It's dangerous." "Professor Qi, all of you lie down. Don't follow me. I'll take care of these enemies." As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Zheng had disappeared without a trace. None of the archaeological team members dared to get up. Someone asked in a daze, "Professor Qi, why is your disciple so powerful?" Tang Zheng's face looks familiar. "I think I've seen him somewhere before," someone said suspiciously. In fact, Tang Zheng had gained quite a reputation after participating in the martial arts circle championship. However, that was only for those who cared about the martial arts circle championship. Many people still did not know much about him. They did not even know who he was, just like these archaeological professionals. He's the champion of this martial arts circle championship, Qi Shaoan explained. Ah, it's him. I was wondering why he looked so familiar. I've seen his picture on the internet before, someone exclaimed. I heard that he's very good at martial arts. With him around, we'll be much safer. Is he that good? Someone asked in confusion. Of course he's good. As a result, everyone chattered endlessly about Tang Zheng. The bullets had already stopped, but no one got up. No one could predict where a bullet would come from. Tang Zheng was like a spirit in the woods. He was as fast as lightning, making it impossible for the enemies to aim at him, let alone hit him. Tang Zheng finally discovered the enemy a few hundred meters away. His eyes instantly burned with a raging flame. These people were well armed. At first glance, he could tell that they were not easy to deal with. Who are you people? Tang Zheng asked angrily. Kill him. Avenge young Master Long. Suddenly, someone shouted. Bang, 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 bang. Gunshots rang out, and the bullets shot towards Tang Zheng like a tsunami. The place where he stood turned into a mess. But Tang Zheng had already disappeared. Stop. Where is he? He should be dead by now, right? Everyone was bewildered. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from above. Everyone subconsciously raised their heads and saw Tang Zheng descending from the sky. The machete in his hand was suffused with a cold light. Fire. There were no gunshots because Tang Zheng was like a cheetah, rushing into the crowd. He would not give anyone a chance to open fire. He had already figured out the other party's identity. These people were actually sent by the Long family. Long Xinyuan must have known that Long Tengyu had died in his hands, so he sent these people to take revenge. He was not afraid of these people, but he was worried about Long Xinyuan. If he was nearby, then he would be in danger. Therefore, he had to cut the Gordian knot. Figures flashed, and people kept falling to the ground. Tang Zheng did not show mercy and killed them all in one blow. After a while, there was only one leader left in the group of more than 10 people. Tang Zheng took away the other party's pistol and pointed it at his chest. He asked with a murderous look, Do you have any accomplices? Tang Zheng, you can't escape. Dianan is the territory of the Long family. You can't escape. Just wait. The patriarch will come and kill you. Is that so? You won't see that day. Bang. He pulled the trigger without hesitation and went back the way he came. He found that the archaeological team was still lying on the ground, looking around nervously. When they saw him coming back, they cheered. Tang Zheng, how is it? It's okay. Everyone get up. Tang Zheng walked to the team member who was shot and found that the bullet did not hit the internal organs, but only the shoulder. However, blood was still flowing out. If he was not treated, he would die from excessive blood loss. The team doctor is with Lu Ming. How can we save him? Everyone surrounded the injured and did not know what to do. Don't worry, he's fine. Tang Zheng used his true qi to stop the bleeding and used a trace of true qi to protect the other party's heart meridian. The injured person who fainted from the pain finally woke up. Don't move. 2 people come and support him. We have to leave here, Tang Zheng said in a deep voice. Unconsciously, his body emitted a majestic aura, which was irresistible. Qi Shaoan asked curiously, Who fired the gun just now? Tang Zheng shook his head. I don't know. I've already chased them away. Don't worry. Tang Zheng could not say that he had killed those people, otherwise it would cause panic. Who would come all the way to the 100,000 mountains? Qi Shaoan was filled with suspicion. Maybe it's a drug dealer. Isn't the 100,000 mountains close to the border? I've heard that drug trafficking is rampant here. Maybe a drug dealer accidentally entered the 100,000 mountains. Someone suddenly had an idea. Drug dealer? Everyone was stunned. These people were all bloodthirsty and vicious people. They were not to be trifled with. Let's get out of here, Qi Shaoan said nervously. We don't want to wait for them to come back. That would be troublesome. Tang Zheng, We can only count on you to protect us. Yes, Tang Zheng. You're the champion of the martial arts circle competition. You can protect us, right? Everyone looked at Tang Zheng eagerly. Tang Zheng was as clear as a mirror. It seemed that his identity was exposed. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, everyone. I'll do my best. But this mission is dangerous. I think it's best to leave the 100,000 mountains." "No, we've already come this far. We can't back out. Besides, we're already lost. It's not that easy to go back. We can only move forward based on our intuition. I've studied it carefully before. I think it's this way." Qi Shaowen pointed in a direction. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. Qi Shaowen was very experienced. The direction he pointed was the direction of the witch tribe. However, they did not give up. Tang Zheng did not mind. After all, the witch tribe was protected by the illusion formation. It was impossible for them to break through it. The group continued to move forward. Tang Zheng walked in front to scout the way. They were already deep in the mountains. There were obviously more ferocious beasts, but they were all defeated by Tang Zheng. When night fell, Tang Zheng even killed a wild boar for everyone's dinner. Everyone set up their tents and rested. Tang Zheng stayed by the campfire. Xiao Bai rested on his shoulder. The night was full of shadows. It was as if there were many ferocious beasts watching their team in the dark. Tang Zheng closed his eyes to rest. He was not affected at all. Suddenly, Qi Shaowen walked to him and sat down. He said slowly, "Tang Zheng, you've been in the 100,000 mountains for 2 days. How do you feel?" "It's okay. The scenery here is different from the city. It's a different experience," Tang Zheng said calmly. Qi Shaowen smiled and said, "You think it's easy, but this journey is so dangerous. This is something I didn't expect. To be honest, I don't know if we'll be able to make it out alive." "Ah, Professor Qi, don't be so pessimistic. If we can come in, we can definitely get out." Qi Shaowen shook his head and said, "Don't be so optimistic. Let me tell you, all the instruments are malfunctioning. I'm just following my gut. I'm not sure if I can find the ancient site, but this is a big discovery in the archaeology world. No matter how difficult it is, I'll try." Tang Zheng could understand Qi Shaowen's feelings. However, this was related to the witch tribe's order. He could not compromise. He could only apologize in his heart. Of course, he would not let these people die here. When the time came, he would bring them out of the 100,000 mountains. "Tang Zheng, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for me to bring you here. You won't blame me, right?" Qi Shaowen asked. He felt a little guilty. Tang Zheng said casually, "Professor Qi, I should thank you for giving me this opportunity. Why would I blame you? I'm glad you don't blame me. You should rest early." Qi Shaowen stood up. "It's okay. I'll rest here tonight in case the beasts come. Thank you for your hard work." The night was uneventful. At dawn, everyone got up and washed up. They knew that according to the plan, they were not far from their destination. As long as they were in the right direction, they would arrive at their destination in a little while. While everyone was washing up, a sudden rush of footsteps came from afar. Everyone's nerves immediately tensed. "Someone's coming. Everyone, be careful. Hide." Tang Zheng did not know who was coming and hurriedly shouted. Immediately, everyone looked for a place to hide. They craned their necks and looked in the direction of the footsteps. After a while, a small group of people came over. "Ah, it's Lu Ming and the others." The crowd let out a cry of alarm and ran out one after another. The people who came were indeed Lu Ming and the others. However, these people were in a very sorry state and looked exhausted. More importantly, there were only 10 people left in the original team of 30 people. When these people saw Tang Zheng and the others, they all had a look of disbelief. They rushed over, and the others quickly went up to help those who were staggering. "You're finally here. Where are the others? Why are there only a few of you?" Professor Qi supported Lu Ming and asked with concern. Lu Ming's face was a little pale. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at the crowd and found that the other party was not missing people. He could not help but be surprised. "Wah, the others are all dead." Someone sat on the ground and burst into tears. "What? They're all dead?" Qi Shaowen was shocked. 20 people had died. That was a great loss. If we didn't find the note you left behind, we wouldn't have been able to walk out. We would all have died there. Someone else said. Lu Ming's expression gradually turned cold. He looked at the crowd and asked, "How come none of you are dead? How did you do it?" Author's digression. There was a chapter that was not shown because of the website. I'll ask the editor to fix it tomorrow. Chapter 395. What do you mean by that? Is it our fault that we didn't lose any members? Someone retorted in dissatisfaction. Obviously, everyone had a lot of complaints about Lu Ming abandoning his teammates and running away. They were all in the wrong. Hearing this, Lu Ming said, "We sacrificed so much to escape, but you are safe and sound. And the two of you, you were clearly poisoned by the miasma at that time and were unconscious. Why are you safe and sound now? You'll only be happy if we die? That's ridiculous." The two men were furious and glared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was unmoved. "Anyway, I need an explanation. Explain to your mother. How dare you insult your superior? Do you not want your job anymore? If you don't want it, get out." Lu Ming said arrogantly, "It's none of my business. Who do you think you are? What bullsh *T team leader? This is the first time I've seen a team leader who only knows how to run for his life. Besides, your words don't count. Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you're sent here by the higher-ups. Professor Qi is the real expert in archaeology. He's the one who calls the shots here." Lu Ming turned to Qi Shaowen and said, "Professor Qi, what do you think we should do with this lawless person?" Qi Shaowen was also unhappy with Lu Ming. He said flatly, "We sacrificed a lot to get out of that miasma area. No one has the right to tell us what to do." "You." Lu Ming was speechless when he saw Qi Shaowen defending the man. Tang Zheng had been watching from the sidelines. Lu Ming was really bureaucratic. He really thought he was a big shot. Lu Ming's chest heaved, and he took a few deep breaths to suppress his anger. He said, "We found a lot of bodies on our way here. Do you know who did it?" Tang Zheng's heart tensed up. It seemed that they had met the group of people from the Long family. Before he could reply, someone had already said, "It must be the drug dealers. We were attacked by the drug dealers earlier, and some of them were injured. Luckily, Tang Zheng chased them away." Drug dealers? Why are there drug dealers here? Besides, the drug dealers are so powerful. How could they die for no reason? Lu Ming stared at Tang Zheng. What ability does he have to chase away the vicious drug dealers? Don't look down on him. Tang Zheng is the champion of the martial arts conference. Don't you think he's capable? Humph. Don't be all talk and no action. Besides, this place is bordered by neighboring countries. It has always been a heavily trafficked area. What's so strange about drug dealers? Tang Zheng's team had been completely united as one. Lu Ming alone wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. The champion of the martial arts tournament? Lu Ming and the others were shocked. Soon after, Lu Ming laughed disdainfully, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. What a joke. You guys were actually fooled by his flowery words. What champion? You're just bragging about yourself. Everyone wanted to explain further, but Tang Zheng stopped them with his eyes and said, "Is there a need to flaunt your tongue here? Don't tell me we're not in a hurry. We've been on the road all night and haven't rested yet. What's the hurry?" Lu Ming said unhappily. "Then let them rest," Qi Shaowen said. Tang Zheng didn't say anything else. Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, a crisp sound of applause rang out. Everyone was shocked and immediately looked towards the direction of the sound. They saw 3 people walking out of the forest. "You guys continue. The show isn't over yet. Who are you?" Lu Ming immediately stood up and asked arrogantly. Tang Zheng looked at the 3 people. His nerves immediately tensed up. He cursed. How did they find him so quickly? These 3 people were Marshall and the 2 elders. The 3 of them looked rather unfriendly. Marshall arrogantly said, "You don't have the qualifications to talk to me. Get lost." Lu Ming flew into a rage and said, "What did you say? Could it be that you're a drug dealer?" As soon as his voice fell, several soldiers immediately pulled out their guns and aimed at the 3 people. They had already become frightened birds. In this mountain, any unfamiliar face could mean danger. Marshall and the other two acted as if they didn't see anything. Marshall disdainfully said, "You think you can show off with just these few fire sticks? Don't move. Otherwise, I'll let you have a taste of the bullets." Lu Ming also had a pistol in his hand. He aimed it at the three people. "If you say don't move, then don't move. You can try shooting." Marshall fearlessly walked over. Bang! Lu Ming finally couldn't endure this powerful aura. He pulled the trigger. The bullet whistled out, but Marshall didn't move at all. She didn't dodge, but the bullet flew past her. It didn't hurt her at all. Lu Ming's marksmanship was just too bad. After running out of bullets, Lu Ming was still pulling the trigger. Marshall had already walked in front of him. Seeing this, the other gunman also wanted to pull the trigger. However, a figure flashed and the fourth elder moved. Everyone only felt a blur in front of their eyes as all the guns were taken away by the fourth elder. They were twisted together like fried dough twists. Everyone was dumbstruck. This strength was just too terrifying. What are you doing? Lu Ming's legs trembled. He didn't expect that after escaping from death, he would meet such a group of people with such terrifying strength. Scram to the side. I'm not in the mood to talk to you, Marshall coldly said. Lu Ming felt as if he had been pardoned. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. His body stiffly moved away. Even his breathing was not smooth. Of course, Marshall had no interest in entangling with this kind of person. Her target was Tang Zhang. Her gaze locked onto Tang Zhang. However, she saw that the other party's expression was normal. She couldn't help but shiver and said, "Tang Zhang, you made us look for you so hard." Tang Zhang said without batting an eyelid, "What do you want to do?" "Of course we want to kill you." The first elder strode over and said with a murderous aura, "Kill." Everyone was shocked. They all looked at Tang Zhang. So these three people were here for him. Moreover, they wanted to kill him. Qi Shaowen suddenly stepped forward and said, "Do you dare to kill someone in broad daylight? This is a crime. Do you know that?" "Haha, it's a crime. Who dares to say anything when my martial organization does things?" The first elder said disdainfully, "If you don't want to die, then scram. The one we want to kill is Tang Zhang. It has nothing to do with anyone else. However, if you are his accomplices, then we don't mind killing you all together." "No, we are not his accomplices. The one you want to deal with is Tang Zhang. It has nothing to do with us. We will leave immediately. We definitely won't delay you," Lu Ming said hurriedly. He was frightened by the other party's actions. If they were not even afraid of guns, then wouldn't it be easy to deal with them? "Shut up, greedy for life and afraid of death," Qi Shaowen roared angrily. "The one they are looking for is Tang Zhang, not us, so why should we accompany him to die? Moreover, I don't think this little brat is a good person, so he deserves to die." Lu Ming indignantly said, "What are you talking about? Our lives were saved by Tang Zhang. You have no right to criticize him." Many people said with righteous indignation, "You don't want to leave? Then you can die with him," Marshall said calmly. "If you don't leave, then I will. I won't die with him." Lu Ming said hurriedly and turned to leave. "Tang Zhang, we will fight with them. If they want to kill you, they will have to break my old bones." Qi Shaowen stepped forward bravely and said fearlessly. Looking at everyone's sincere eyes, Tang Zhang smiled and said, "Thank you for everyone's good intentions, but this is my personal matter, so there is no need for everyone to get involved. It won't be that easy for these people to kill me. Tang Zhang, they have the advantage in numbers. We will help you. If we work together, I don't believe we can't beat them." Someone suggested, "Don't try to persuade me. You have to believe in me. I will find you. Let's go." Tang Zhang persuaded, "No, we won't go. If we die, we die together. In that case, there is no need to go. Let's die with him." Suddenly, the fourth elder roared and went deep into the lightning. He directly grabbed the neck of the person next to him. "Stop!" Tang Zhang shouted to stop him. His body moved and rushed forward. "Everyone hurry up and leave. Believe me, I will definitely not die. Professor Qi, hurry up and take them away. Otherwise, if you stay here, you will distract me." Bang! Tang Zhang was one step ahead and saved the team member from the fourth elder's hand. The team member's face was pale. You came at the right time. Kid, today is the day you die. The fourth elder shouted disdainfully. He reached out his hand and grabbed Tang Zheng's head with the dragon claw. Tang Zheng did not dodge. He counterattacked with the heaven-gathering hand. The two men separated as soon as they touched each other. However, they quickly fought again. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. The archaeological team's breathing uncontrollably became hurried. Only now did they understand that Tang Zheng's skills were actually so terrifying. Everyone, let's go. Don't waste any more time. Professor Qi, I beg you, please take everyone away. Seeing that everyone was still indifferent, Tang Zheng could not help but be extremely anxious and hurriedly advised. Everyone, let's go. We can't be Tang Zheng's burden. Qi Shaowen hesitated for a moment. After weighing the pros and cons, he said resolutely, Tang Zheng, you have to be careful. It's too late for you to leave now. The first elder suddenly spoke. He blocked the archaeological team's path like a ghost. Elder, these are just ordinary people. There's no need to kill innocent people. Wu advised. The great elder remained unmoved. Being together with Tang Zheng is the same as being a demon. We must catch them all in one go. The first elder charged towards Qi Shaowen. Seeing this, Tang Zheng jumped in fright and shouted, No. However, he was too busy fighting with the fourth elder to save Qi Shaowen. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white shadow slammed into the first elder's stomach like a flash of lightning. The first elder staggered backward and fell on his butt. The archaeological team took the opportunity to retreat. They disappeared into the forest in the blink of an eye. The first elder stood up angrily. He finally saw the culprit Xiaobai. Xiaobai was still baring his teeth at him and squeaking. What the hell is this? The great elder was well aware of the force behind the collision, and he was shocked that it was caused by this little thing. Thus, he couldn't care less about the escaping archaeological team and stared at Little White without blinking. Chapter 396. The great clan elder stared at Xiaobai for a long time, but he was still unable to determine what kind of animal it was. However, when he saw Xiaobai baring its teeth at him, the great clan elder's eyes turned cold and released a biting cold light. The egg was moved to the wrong place. Little bastard, I'll kill you first. The great clan elder's figure flashed, and he rushed towards Xiaobai. In his eyes, this was an easy task. Suddenly, a white figure flashed, and Xiaobai disappeared in front of him without any warning. Boom! Flames soared into the sky and attacked the great clan elder from behind. The great clan elder's heart trembled, and he immediately pounced forward, dodging the calamity in a sorry state. However, the clothes on his back had already been burnt beyond recognition and were charred black. The great clan elder crawled up in a sorry state and stared at Xiaobai in shock, only to see it proudly raising its head and pouting. What kind of monster is this? Wu Yi stared at Xiaobai with his mouth agape, while the fourth elder immediately stopped fighting and looked at Xiaobai in disbelief. Suddenly, Wu Yi exclaimed, Could it be a demonic beasts? Demonic beasts? The two elders turned pale with fright. Although they had always been hunting martial artists, they had never seen a demonic beast before. Why would Tang Zheng have a demonic beast accompanying him? The three of them were puzzled. Furthermore, this demonic beast looked too harmless, completely unlike the ferocious and terrifying demonic beasts in legends. Tang Zheng waved his hand, and Xiaobai immediately jumped onto his shoulder. Since the archaeological team had already left, he did not care about exposing his strength. He patted Xiaobai's head and stared at the enemy without fear. Brat, we have underestimated you in the past. It seems like you are not a small character. No matter who is behind you, your identity as a cultivator has doomed you to death. Kill. The great clan elder roared and pulled out the treasured sword he carried with him. Although you are a cultivator and have a demonic beasts accompanying you, in the end, your cultivation is too weak. Go and die. Shua. The sword light blotted out the sky and was incomparably dazzling. This side of the world was instantly submerged by the sword light. Every blade of grass, every object, and even the air seemed to be on the verge of being torn apart by the sword light. Tang Jing immediately took out the battle soul sword. With a flash of black light, the battle soul flew out from the sword. Its huge body was like a huge monster as it pounced towards the Great Elder. Swoosh! The sword light flashed, riddling the war spirit's body with thousands of holes. The war spirit roared incessantly, and the temperature between heaven and earth seemed to drop to the freezing point in an instant. What kind of monster is this? The Great Elder frowned. Ghosts. Marshall stared blankly at the battle spirit, memories flashing through her mind. Scenes of her intense battle with a ghost general. The dense yin-chi on the ghost general's body was extremely similar to the battle spirit's aura, leaving a deep impression on her. Suddenly, Marshall let out a miserable cry. He hugged his head and squatted on the ground. It was as if something had drilled into his head. It was extremely painful. Scenes flashed through her mind one after another, finally interweaving into a complete memory. It was incomparably clear. Marshall, what happened to you? The fourth elder quickly asked with concern. Marshall suddenly raised his head, killing intent bursting out, his gaze locked onto Tang Jing. He was exceptionally complicated as he muttered to himself. So it was him. Back then, I went to the ordinary balance for him. He was that cultivator, but I was heavily injured and inexplicably lost that memory. The aura of the battle spirit was no different from the aura of the ghost general, so it triggered the deepest memories in her mind, allowing her to finally recover her memories. However, all of this clearly came too late. Tang Jing has a great relationship with the martial sect. The sect master once told me that I must bring him back to the martial sect. This time, I must capture him alive. Marshall's expression gradually turned cold. Marshall, what happened to you just now? The fourth elder asked. Fourth elder, I have finally recovered my memories. Tang Jing is the main culprit who caused me to lose my memories in the ordinary balance. Marshall said, What, it's him? The fourth elder flew into a rage. The martial sect had suffered a great loss in the ordinary balance. Moreover, it was inexplicable, and they did not find the person behind the scenes. So all of this was caused by Tang Jing. It was truly a small world. Tang Jing did not have the heart to pay attention to Marshall, because although he had the help of the battle spirit, the great elder of the martial sect was actually a great master. After fighting for a while, Tang Jing knew that he was not his opponent. Brat, you are dead for sure. Do you think that with a ghost and a demonic beast, you are my opponent? You are looking down on my martial sect too much. The great elder said angrily. With a slash, Tang Jing raised the battle spirit to block, but was forced back a few steps by the huge force. Before he could stabilize himself, the great elder's sword was already in front of him. Boom! The battle spirit hurriedly stood in front of Tang Jing to protect him. One of his arms was immediately cut off and turned into strands of black yin-chi. The battle spirit roared nonstop and rushed forward again. Shwa shwa! With another 2 slashes, the battle spirit's other arm and leg flew up. However, the battle spirit still relied on one leg to stand proudly. It opened its mouth and bit towards the great elder. You don't know the difference between life and death. Then I will let your soul scatter. The great elder also understood the battle spirit's strength. The gap between him and the battle spirit was too large, so he was not afraid. He slashed out again, determined to cut off the battle spirit's head. Tang Jing was overwhelmed with shock and hurriedly said, Battle spirit, come back. So, the battle spirit disappeared and was absorbed by the battle spirit. Tang Jing waved the battle spirit and used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique to finally block the killing blow. His arm trembled and the battle spirit seemed to fly out of his hand. With a thought, the battle spirit disappeared and was kept in the sumerve pouch. Haha, brat, your sword technique is very powerful, but your power is too weak. You want to fight with me? Wishful thinking. The great elder said in disdain. Tang Jing snorted. With a wave of his finger, he finally took out the heaven-shocking bow. The 3 of them were dazzled by Tang Jing's magical transformation of weapons. Tang Jing's fingers pulled on the bowstring, and the great elder laughed disdainfully. Haha, a bow without an arrow. Do you think it still has any lethality? Tang Zheng did not say anything. He only silently pulled on the bowstring, and the heaven-shocking bow turned into a full moon. Wu suddenly remembered the situation in the valley. This was the divine bow that did not use any arrows. Back then, the demon god had suffered a loss from this divine bow. Great Elder, be careful. This is a divine bow. You don't need any arrows to kill enemies. Wu immediately reminded loudly. But Tang Zheng's movements were even faster than her words. Just as she opened her mouth, Tang Zheng had already released his fingers. Wong. The bowstring trembled, and the air was compressed to the extreme. Then, it began to fluctuate violently, as if it was boiling. The great clan elder's face changed. He instantly realized that something was wrong. He immediately roared, held his sword with both hands, and fiercely slashed forward. Boom! With a loud sound, smoke and dust rose in all directions. The great clan elder was completely wrapped up in smoke and dust, making it impossible to see his situation clearly. At this moment, Wu had just finished speaking, and both she and the fourth elder looked at this scene at the same time, dumbstruck. Great clan elder! The fourth elder cried out in alarm and immediately rushed forward. Wu stared at Tang Zheng with her mouth agape. The feeling this arrow gave her was even more terrifying than the arrow in the valley back then, a kind of trembling that came from her soul. She knew very well that she had no way of retaliating against this arrow. Tang Zheng did not have the time to pay attention to him. He turned around and ran. Turning into a bolt of lightning, he rushed into the forest. Brat, don't run. A thunderous roar sounded out, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the great clan elder's figure appeared once again. However, at this moment, he was in a sorry state. His clothes were tattered, his face and body were covered in dust. There was a large pit under his feet, and the treasured sword in his hand had been broken into two. Great clan elder, are you all right? The fourth elder asked anxiously. I won't die. Chase, I must catch up to that brat. I will tear him into 10,000 pieces. The great clan elder jumped out of the pit, looked at the treasured sword in his hand with a pained expression, and chased after him. The fourth elder and Marshall also quickly chased after him. A moment later, four people appeared beside the big pit. It was the demon god, Lewis, Wales, and Sawada Ichiro. The demon god observed the big pit for a while and said, Tang Zheng was here just now. It seems like an intense battle just happened. Who was the other side? Sawada Ichiro asked curiously. People from the martial sect. Lewis laughed unfathomably. As far as I know, the people from the martial sect have already entered the 10,000 huge mountains. Humph, martial sect. This time we'll make sure they don't return. The demon god said with killing intent. Let's go and catch up to them. Tang Zheng sprinted, and the trees on both sides quickly disappeared behind him. Although he did not hear any movements behind him, there was no doubt that the martial sect's pursuers were not far behind him. Lord Envoy. Suddenly, a group of people rushed out from the side. It was Yi Yuan and a few Witch Clan clansmen. Lord Envoy, we finally found you. Why are you here? Tang Zheng stopped in his tracks. Lord Envoy, ever since you fell into the miasma, we lost track of you and have been searching for you. The heavens have opened their eyes and finally allowed us to find you. Yi Yuan said excitedly. I'm fine. It's not good to stay here for long. Hurry up and leave. Tang Zheng said, Lord Envoy, is there an enemy? Yi Yuan immediately saw through the clues and asked, Yes, a very powerful enemy. Brat, let's see where you can run to. A furious roar suddenly sounded out. A figure flashed, and the three people from the martial sect quickly caught up. Tang Zheng sighed regretfully. The people from the martial sect were really powerful. He had only delayed for a while, but the other party had already caught up. The key was that the people from the Witch Clan had also been exposed. Seeing the Witch Clan, the three of them stopped in their tracks and looked at them in disbelief. They asked, Who are these people? Cultivator. Wu Wu cried out in alarm. So many cultivators? The two elders were very surprised. They had been hunting cultivators all day, and the number of cultivators they had seen had decreased over the years. They never thought that so many would suddenly appear. The two elders' eyes glowed red, as if they were hunters who had seen their prey. They said excitedly, "The heavens are helping me. Today, I will catch them all in one fell swoop." Chapter 397. Yi Yuan looked at the three of them curiously and asked, "Lord Envoy, who are these people?" "Someone from the martial sect." "Egidi is wrong." "Martial sect?" Yi Yuan already knew what the martial sect was doing, and could not help but fly into a rage. "Are they the ones who hunted us cultivators?" "Lord Envoy, we cannot let them leave." "Lord Envoy?" The three of them looked at Tang Zheng in astonishment, wondering what kind of position this so-called Lord Envoy had. But seeing the other party protecting Tang Zheng so much, it meant that his identity was not simple. The three of them were not afraid. Instead, it was as if they had discovered a new continent. They thought that they had dug out Tang Zheng's background. "The harvest from this trip to southern Yunnan is really too great. I suspect that they have an organization and must be uprooted," the great elder said with killing intent. "Arrogant. You still dare to be so arrogant in the 10,000 huge mountains." Yi Yuan was furious, and before he finished speaking, he rushed out like a cannonball. Boom! The great clan elder retaliated, causing Yi Yuan's skin to glow with a golden light. He quickly retreated, broke a tree trunk, and stopped. So powerful. Yi Yuan stared at his fist and said in surprise, "Humph, you overestimate yourself. Let's see how you guys escape this time. Kill. Don't use your hands. Show mercy." With the great clan elder's order, the fourth elder and martial elder attacked at the same time. "Charge!" Yi Yuan roared and rushed forward with the other clansmen. Tang Zheng secretly sighed. This time, there was no chance for him to escape, so he unceremoniously joined the battle. Without a doubt, the average fighting strength of the three martial sect S was definitely higher than that of the Witch Clan S, but there were more than 10 Witch Clan S, so they had the advantage in numbers. Furthermore, they lived in the forest all year round, so their use of the terrain and environment could be said to be perfect. In addition, after the Witch tribesmen learned the chaotic golden body technique, their skin was rough and their flesh was thick, and their resistance to attack soared. When the fourth elder's weapon struck Yi Yuan's body, sparks actually exploded, leaving behind marks, but it did not penetrate his skin. Xiaobai also jumped down from Tang Zheng's shoulder and shuttled through the crowd. Every time he saw an opportunity, he would unrestrainedly spit out fire, often catching Wu and the fourth elder off guard. Especially the fourth elder, whose beard and eyebrows were all burned bald by the fire, making him look extremely comical. Tang Zheng had previously used the heaven-shocking bow to cause the great clan elder to suffer a loss, but now, the great clan elder already knew how powerful the heaven-shocking bow was, so every time Tang Zheng pulled the bowstring, he would always be able to cleverly dodge it, causing Tang Zheng to be rather impatient. The two sides were in a stalemate for a while. Then, a scream of agony rang out. One of the sorcerer tribesmen finally took a hit and fell to the ground, bleeding profusely. Seeing that, Tang Zheng shouted out loud, but he was powerless to do anything. He was entangled by the great clan elder and had no time to do anything. "Haha, Tang Zheng, I want you to watch them die one by one." The great clan elder laughed sinisterly. Screams rang out one after another. After a long time, the witch tribesmen's decline began to show. Although they had the advantage in numbers, the other party was a true expert. The difference between the two sides was not something that could be made up for by numbers. Tang Zheng's eyes were about to spit fire. Seeing that another person was about to be hit, he suddenly turned around and rushed towards that person. Whiz! An invisible arrow shot out and finally saved that person first. However, the great clan elder's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast, slapping his back with his palm. Bang! Tang Zheng spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out. While he was in the air, he aimed at Wu and pounced towards her. While Wu was fighting with Yi Yuan, she suddenly felt a gust of wind above her head. Before she could even raise her head to look, she realized that her throat had been grabbed by someone. "Stop!" Tang Zheng did not care about the burning pain on his back, as if his spine was about to break, and shouted loudly. Everyone stopped at the same time. The two elders were shocked. They never thought that Tang Zheng had an ulterior motive. His rescue of the witch tribesmen was just a feint. His goal was to capture Wu, and he had succeeded. "If you attack again, I'll kill her," Tang Zheng said with killing intent. "No." The great clan elder hurriedly stopped her. Wu was the sect master's disciple. If she died, the sect master would blame them, and they would not be able to bear the consequences. "If you don't want her to, then obediently retreat. Brat, you won't be able to escape." "Humph, is that so? At most, we'll just fight to the death, but she won't be able to live either," Tang Zheng said fearlessly. The two elders looked at each other in dismay and could only retreat. "Tang Zheng, if you kill me, you will never know the secret of that jade pendant. However, if you follow me back to the martial sect, you will be able to get the answer you want," Wu said calmly. "Follow you back to the martial sect? Isn't that walking right into a trap? Don't you want to know the secret of that jade pendant?" Tang Zheng was silent. His feelings towards the jade pendant that was related to his background were very complicated. He wanted to know the secret behind it, but he was also afraid to know. He was afraid that his background was related to the martial sect. Now that he was a cultivator, he was the enemy of the martial sect. If his background was related to the martial sect, then he would be the one in the cracks. He didn't know what to do. "Follow me back to the martial sect. I can guarantee your safety," Wu advised in a low voice. Seeing the two of them muttering to each other, the great clan elder said worriedly, "Brat, if you dare to harm a single hair on his head, I can guarantee that all of you will be buried with him." Tang Zheng coldly snorted. He was unmoved and said to Yi Yuan, "Lead your clansmen and leave first. I will cover the rear." "Lord Envoy, you absolutely can't," Yi Yuan shouted. "This is an order. Are you going to disobey my orders?" Tang Zheng said with a gloomy face. "I don't dare." Yi Yuan lowered his head, had people help the injured clansmen up, and retreated step by step towards the direction of the witch tribe. "Haha, such an intense battle. Fortunately, we haven't arrived too late. It's a good show." Suddenly, a strange laughter sounded out, and a group of people walked out from the dark forest. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice, and their pupils could not help but shrink. Tang Zheng was greatly shocked. The archaeological team was among them, but the archaeological team had become captives. Qi Shaowen still had a katana on his neck, and the people who kidnapped them were actually the demon gods group. The demon god clapped his hands and said, "This time, all of you have gathered together. You can save me the trouble of looking for all of you." "Demon god." Wuji stared at the other party and exclaimed. The two elders widened their eyes and glared at him, saying, "You are the demon god." "Haha, the two great elders of the martial sect, right? Didn't you want to find cultivators? With so many cultivators in front of you today, let's see how you can kill your way here." The demon god jokingly said, "Tang Zheng, kill the woman in your hands first, then surrender. Otherwise, I will deal with your companions first." "Tang Zheng, don't listen to him. Hurry up and run," Qi Shaowen shouted with all the strength in his body. "Haha, how touching. If you dare to run, try and see if this sharp blade can cut his throat." "Werwu, demon god, I have no grievances with you. Hurry up and let us go. The person you want to kill is Tang Zheng, not me. I have nothing to do with him." Lu Ming suddenly burst into tears. This archaeological expedition had been full of twists and turns. If he had known this would happen, he would not have come even if he was beaten to death. "Haha, so afraid of death. If you don't want to die, then tell Tang Zheng to surrender. Otherwise, you will die without a doubt." The demon god laughed. Lu Ming said with a long face, "Tang Zheng, I have no grievances with you. Why do you want to harm me? I knew I shouldn't have let you join the archaeological team. This time, everyone is dead because of you. Are you satisfied?" "Shut up, Lu Ming. You are such a coward. It is a disgrace to be associated with you." Qi Shaowen shouted angrily. "Professor Qi, it's your business if you want to be buried with him. I don't want to die, and neither do the rest of us. Besides, this has nothing to do with us. We're here for archaeology. We're here to find the 4 stone statues." Lu Ming rattled on. He was afraid of the demon god and the others, but he was not afraid of Tangjing and Qi Shaoan. Stone statues? You are here to find the stone statues? Suddenly, the demon god interrupted Lu Ming's chatter. Yes, we are here to find the stone statues. I have photos here. They are in my bag. Then, he quickly took off his bag and took out a few photos. These photos were taken by a satellite in outer space. The 4 stone statues were clearer than the rest. The devil god's eyes went wide, and he couldn't look away. Eventually, he laughed maniacally and said, "Ha ha ha, the heavens are helping me." The 4 manifestations paragon, who has disappeared for countless years, is actually in the 100,000 mountains. The venerable 4 symbols? Everyone was shocked, especially Tangjing and the people of the witch tribe. They only knew that the 4 stone statues were the guardians of the witch tribe, but they did not know their real names. As long as I have the venerable 4 symbols, no one in this world can be my opponent. What martial arts grandmaster? They are all useless. Humph. The demon god said solemnly. Where exactly are the venerable 4 symbols? The demon god asked anxiously. I don't know, but they are in the Shirwan Mountains. Haha, you are still useful. You actually told me such useful information. The demon god patted Lu Ming's shoulder and praised him. Lu Ming's face immediately bloomed into a smile. He said flatteringly, then, Lord Demon God, can you let me go? I will let you die a quick death. The demon god said with a smile. Lu Ming's face turned pale as if he had lost his parents. Tangjing, have you thought about it? After dealing with you, I still need to find the venerable 4 symbols. Don't waste my time. The demon god said impatiently. All right, let them go. I'll give up resisting. Tangjing released Wu and did not kill her. Wu and the demon god were enemies, so of course he would not help the demon god get rid of an enemy. Lord Envoy, you absolutely can't. The witch tribesmen who had already retreated a distance rushed forward again without a care for their own safety and advised in panic. Lord Envoy? When did he become the Lord Envoy? Who are these people? The demon god stared at the witch tribesmen. They're all cultivators. Brat, who are these people? We are the servants of the Lord Envoy. If you want to kill him, kill us first. Yi Yuan stepped forward and said angrily, Haha, this way it will be even more interesting. Tangjing, not only do you have to surrender, even your servants have to surrender. There is actually a group of cultivators in this Shirwan Mountains. There must be a huge secret behind this. It really is not a wasted trip. Hurry up, I don't have the patience. Surrender immediately, or else I will kill them all. Don't kill them, I'll just do it. Tangjing was in a dilemma. If he did not surrender, the other party's people would die. If he surrendered, then his and the witch tribesmen's lives would be in danger. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.